This event is a hybrid. It's running both on online and as well as physical. So your being here, you know that it's even a bigger thing for us for your physical presence. But there are also a multitude of people who are listening in. I would propose we start this meeting with a prayer. Dr. Roslyn, can you lead us in an opening word of prayer?
Lord God, we thank you for yet giving us another day. We thank you for the journey masses to this place. We thank you for having given us the energy and the will and the passion to do what we do. Especially the women, and let's pray that our for the future of improving the agricultural sector in general. Of Jesus Christ our Lord.
Thank you, Dr. Roslyn. In the room we have very few men, apart from the I don't see others. But this is Value for Her, a networking and advocacy meeting. It's been rolled out in several countries. Assuredly, 11 of them are in Africa, and these are 11 countries where AGRA is operating. And the purpose of this event or this kind of meeting is to begin to get leaders in agriculture, and most especially in agribusiness, to talk about what they do and to inspire several women out there who are looking for what to do to emancipate themselves, to see that we present the options of agriculture and agribusiness, most especially, that can transform their lives. Your lives, you have been carefully selected to be here and carefully selected to be physically here because you have stories to tell, stories that can inspire. Our chief guest, I've just whispered to her that when I was still in high school, she was a minister of agriculture. You can imagine. I think the first minister of agriculture in this regime. Okay? So it's quite an honor for me to even be seated near her. She did lots of wonderful things in agriculture. But then we need to see that agriculture is not looked at as something for failing people. Okay? Agriculture needs to be looked at as something for successful people. Let me also punctuate it with a story, a small story. When I eventually ended up doing agriculture at university, but I did it intentionally. I had qualified for medicine, but my desire was to do agricultural economics. Somebody had told me about economics, and I realized, what am I doing with these sciences? If I can divert to economics, I'll end up somewhere in a bank. So that is how I ended up doing agriculture degree. While there, most of the students who had enrolled for the course had enrolled because they had missed medicine. You see? Now that was the first thing, you know? Everyone was regretting, I missed it by 1 point, I missed it by half a point. So already I could see there is a false start here. Then we proceeded. We had a lecturer who was, I am sorry to say, was a professor, but he was very miserable. Very miserable. He would hold a chikapu. In Uganda, we know what a chikapu means. Now, I looked, I said, but can this inspire anyone? You know? Another lecturer, he showed up in a four-wheel drive car, and it parked right in front of the faculty. For those of you that agriculture, I mean, in a suit, and he came and lectured us, stayed for the economics option in it. But then later we were doing much better than us because they were heading big projects. Madam Honorable Victoria Sejoleko's story. People have heard Dr. Rosalind's story. They see Dr. Rosalind in those big cars and they wonder, how can I get there? So this is the time to inspire. Let us inspire those people. Let us not make agriculture look desperate, because we are not desperate. Agriculture is the future for this continent. So with those few remarks, welcome to this Value for Her in-country networking and advocacy meeting. Right now, I'm going to invite the head of gender and inclusiveness in Agra. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm John Jagwe, country manager for Agra in Uganda. And I will also be introducing panelists, but a little later, I think. I will ask Lillian to do that for me because she coordinated all this. Lillian is very important. Lillian Githingi, she has put all this together. So thank you, Lillian, for putting it all together. Right now, let me invite the head of gender and inclusiveness in Agra, Sabdio Dido. She's a woman also of great achievement. I will also take the opportunity to introduce the Vice President of Agra, who is also with us online, Agi Konde. She's Ugandan, she's a woman, and she's very passionate now about agriculture. So over to you, Sabdio, to make your remarks.
Thank you very much. I hope I am audible enough. Yeah, so good morning. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, guests. Good morning, participants. Thank you very much for joining us for yet another exciting segment of the Value for Her networking event. And this time it's very close home, Uganda. And I do recognize the presence of our guest of honor, and do recognize the presence of very high-powered women panelists and also male panelists that have been lined up for this conversation today. And I send my greetings to some of my friends on the panel. John has mentioned briefly about our Value for Her program. This is a continental program that is aimed at strengthening women's enterprises in agriculture. And this is very, very important for us, of course, because we know that women are key actors within the agricultural value chain, mostly at the moment playing on the production end of agriculture, and majority really are there. But the question that we've always asked ourselves is, why are women not on the other levels of the value chains? Why are they not taking advantage of the business of opportunities within the value chains? And so if you look at the numbers, you see that more women are on the production side than on the business side. So the idea of this program is to also help women to draw the benefits that are within the other levels of the value chains. And this is what we are aiming to do. So just allow me to run through a few slides just to give you the flavor of the program. And John, of course, has already talked about why we are launching, why we are bringing this to Uganda as well. We've been now in 9 countries so far. We have launched this program. So Uganda is the 10th one. And we just have 1 more left. And the idea is to really bring this program to the awareness of the women actors within the country, to the awareness of the partners within the country, to the awareness of financing partners, buyers, and other development partners within the country, but also women networks within the country. And I know Uganda has a very rich history of women's movement and women's empowerment. So again, we're really hoping that this hits the ground, you know, in a very, very strong and momentous way so that we are able to pick it and move forward. So just allow me to very quickly run through these few slides. And when we are talking about women SMEs, and of course, SMEs across the board and across Africa, of course, the struggle is somehow similar. But what makes it different for women is that their struggle is not only around the market failures, around access to business development service, access to markets, or access to capital, but their struggle is also around a number of gender and social restrictions that come with being a woman, for example, in Africa, in rural Africa. And this is why it is important for us to really give this special lens also to our SME track. Of course, we deal with SMEs across the continent, and I'm sure Aggie and Vanessa will speak to that at some point. But the reason why we give a special lens to the women SMEs is because we know their circumstance is complicated by the fact that they are of a certain gender, and that carries a number of burdens. So we're looking, for example, at the issue of agency, the issue of mobility. You know, I mean, if you want to start a business or even grow your business, you need to be able to, for example, go for capital, right? But if you do not even have the space, the freedom, the collateral, you know, the asset that you need to do that, how do you even take a decision to grow your business? Yeah, and the issue of being within markets, for example, and we're talking about high value markets, we're talking about lucrative markets, yeah? And this is something that involves you being out there, networking, connecting with others, getting intelligence, getting to know where the value is within markets. But if you're restricted within your own social setup, because as per, you know, the gender norms, you're not supposed to associate here and there, then that puts restrictions on you, and you're not able to grow your business the way a fellow male colleague or fellow within your environment would do. So this is why it's important to focus on women SMEs within the broader segment of SMEs across the continent. So this gender context complicates the business performance. And now we know from recent evidence and that there is a profitability gap between enterprises that are led by women and enterprises that are led by men because of this gender gap, and it has been put at 34%. So this program is really aimed at leveling the field, yeah, bringing women enterprises and the women leading enterprises themselves to a level where they are also able to effectively compete, essentially dealing with the gender issues that underlie the performance, but at the same time also opening up the market the triggers on the market side to make their SMEs perform. So the VALUE4HER program has these 3 levers, if I can call it. So one lever is, how do we access business resources to women so that they are able to grow their businesses. So this is really looking at how can they access capital? How can they access markets? How can they access knowledge, information, networks, which is so crucial for business growth? But also how can they leverage their collective to be able to network and to help each other? So one side is a side we call the business graduation side. This is what you see on your right. And then on the left, it is what we call value distribution from the market. So we know that there are market actors within agriculture. They are buyers, for example, they are financiers, they are business development service providers. The question is, how do we flow this back, yeah, to from the market end? And here I'm looking at, for example, those that are already within regional and global trade, players that are already within regional and global trade, plowing this back to the women who are at the lower level to be able to lift them up. And then, of course, we know that we are dealing with gender issues. We know that we are dealing with a number of gender and social norms. The issue of advocacy and voice then becomes very, very crucial. So the Value for Her program that is powered by the Value for Her Connect, the platform connects women across the continent to give them this collective capital, voice, in a way to create a community that is able to advocate for what they want, yeah? They will be able to change the business environment to be friendly, and they'll be able to have a voice to inform policies and regulatory environment. So this is what the Value for Her program is about. So if you go to the platform now, which is bringing all these different resources together, the platform has these 4 pillars. The first pillar is women connecting with women. So this is a space where women just get together. They make different types of groups and they can engage on whatever subject they want to. You probably have seen us roll out programs like the Talk Corners. This is really around this particular pillar. The second pillar is women to market. So how do we make it easy for women to connect directly with the big buyers so that we avoid this middle level that takes away the value from most of the women businesses? The third is, of course, finance, very, very crucial for business growth. And the fourth is know-how. One thing that we have seen, and we've also seen it from evidence, is one of the reasons why women do not have a growth mindset for their business. Yeah, I mean, they make their business and they stay with it as small as it is because of the confidence also to be able to take risks. So the women to know how thing pillar is really to help women to come out and to build this confidence to grow their business. So the platform, the Value for Her Connect platform, which you will see the link on the chat, and please distribute the link within your network so that more women can join the platform. We create this community of women agri-entrepreneurs that is really strong, that has a voice, that will access the different business resources on their terms, and that will be able to grow businesses for women and really end hunger and malnutrition on the continent and grow wealth. We just also rolled out a small program that is on women and COVID. Please distribute again that within your network. It's going to be executive webinars on investment readiness, pitch coaching, and support in accessing financing. We know that COVID has affected businesses in very many ways. So we've put in this support to women enterprises so that they're able to put themselves back on track. And of course, we are going to again roll out the deal room this year. There will be a series of investment opportunities and matchmaking opportunities. Again, this is a call to all women companies to really register for this when we make the call and take advantage of the opportunities that are there. So I thank you so much, John and the team in Uganda for this really excellent event. And to all the panelists and our guests, please welcome, and we really look forward to engaging with you today. Thank you very much, and over to you, John. Hello?
I think John is on mute or something.
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, there was a technical hitch. I think it's been sorted. You can proceed. Sorry
No,
about that.
yeah, so I just handed back to you. Thank you so much. I think you can now invite the next speaker, Aggie. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. At this point, allow me to invite Agi Konde, Vice President of Programs Innovations in Agra, to make her remarks. Then thereafter, we shall have chance for all of us in the room to introduce ourselves so that we get to know each other. This is a networking event. I am cognizant of the fact that Agi has another meeting, so that is why I'm bringing her on board right now. Welcome, Agi.
Thank you very much, John. I hope I can be heard. Is my volume audio very good?
Yes,
Excellent.
you're loud and clear.
Thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure being home. I'm actually dialing in from Barara. I wish I knew we were today. I would have driven to the cities just so that I can be there in person, but it's always a pleasure, you know, meeting up with my ex-colleagues and all. I see quite a number of people who have dialed in from Koboko, from Jinja, and also it's really exciting that, you know, the whole of Uganda is trying to dial in into this great opportunity. So Honorable Victoria Sejoleko, Board Chair, Uganda Agribusiness Alliance, thank you so much for honoring this invitation and joining us. It's always a pleasure being on a panel with you. I know you're a very passionate woman leader who does bring indeed distinguished experience to this docket. Our partners that are in the room or online this evening, my colleagues that are online that have put so much effort in pulling this together. It is a pleasure that Uganda is finally joining the rest of the world in, you know, having this opportunity. Our distinguished speakers who have taken time to join this call and will be speaking to us later. Ladies, I hope gentlemen, John, did you say you're the only gentleman in the room? And the gentlemen that are in the room, you're welcome. I wanted to start my comments. I was asked to speak about overcoming gender barriers to seize opportunities in agribusiness. And, you know, I was thinking about the size of this opportunity in Uganda. And I thought, what would be the best way to monetize this opportunity other than checking in on one common decision that we all make as mothers, as daughters, as wives every single day? We do make 3 decisions every day that is common to all of us. We do spend time to prepare 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if we only used the sample size of Kampala and its suburbs, which is about 5 million people, and each person is eating a meal of just about $1, you're already talking about a decision of $5 million every single day if everybody in Kampala had 3 meals a day. So if you extrapolate that to about 35 million people, you're already talking about a business that is $105 million in only Uganda. So I know that a couple of you are in businesses where you're developing products that are exportable. So you're even reaching out into other markets across the region, whether it is in Kenya, Tanzania, whether it's in Rwanda, South Sudan. I know South Sudan is a major market for most of us in the room, but also many others are beginning to also tap into global value chains. So the industry we are really talking about, the agribusiness industry, which is from farm to fork or farm to plate, indeed has got massive opportunities for entrepreneurs, not only locally in Uganda, but globally. However, where is the opportunity there in for females and for women entrepreneurs? And what are the things that we are grappling with that are not enabling us to actually tap into this massive industry that is playing up, but most importantly is playing up to the natural opportunities that we as women nurture? Because this is about food, this is about agriculture, This is about increasing livelihoods. This is about really enabling or tapping into your natural instincts to be able to make an income and improve livelihoods of very many people, not just your family, your immediate family, the extended family, and everybody else that we every single day have to care about. So this is really the opportunity that Value for Money presents for women entrepreneurs. And the starting point, like Sabdio rightly said, is to stand up and network. This is not a natural forte for most women. It is very difficult to really articulate what it means to network. But I think I'm preaching to the converted because the women in the room have already taken one step forward. So I think what we then need to do is to say, how do you then carry somebody else? How do you, make sure that this opportunity is being shared by another woman entrepreneur, by another prospecting woman entrepreneur, so that then the network becomes much larger than just the women in the room or just the over 1,000 women in the room. Imagine of all the women entrepreneurs out there, this platform only has 1,000 women. And the challenge I was giving myself and Sabdio is it cannot be a 1,000 number platform. It has got to be in multitudes of millions of women entrepreneurs sitting on this platform, networking, sharing pain points, sharing solutions, scaling up solutions that have been tested, first and foremost amongst ourselves. So breaking that one barrier of, first of all, joining the platform, informing the other woman about the opportunity. And the next point, which is the one that I want to speak to, as you all know, I come from the corporate world. There is no business unless a customer can pay for it. And a customer will never pay for that business unless there is value in the opportunity you're presenting. So some of the things that probably this platform will be speaking to is how do we position our businesses in a manner in which the 35 million customers I talked about earlier will make a daily decision to buy your product and not another product. And actually, it's not about not the other product, because if you think about the food, it is right, I have to make a decision to buy the actual food. So I will buy matoke, I will buy chinyewa, I will buy bitunguru, I will buy biringanya. If it's about ingredients, I'm going to be talking about spices. I'm going to be talking about the cooking oil. I'm going to be talking about the saucepans. So the opportunity, enlarging that table to ensure what are the products that make a meal. In themselves, there are multitudes of products. So who is producing those? What quality are those products? How are they packaged? How are they sold? Is really the things that we need to be able to solve for together as a collective ecosystem. And this is what this opportunity presents. One is you start to talk about your business. In which business are you? Are you doing, peanut butter? And I know Northern Uganda is great at doing things like peanut butter. It's great at doing oils that are, very good oils for our skins. It's very good at doing so. Are you in honey? All these are exportable products that can reach a global market that is much larger than 35 million. But how well is the 35 million back home tapping into this opportunity before we even think of export? So I really think the barriers are in ourselves, the barriers are in the ecosystems in which we operate, but the opportunities, I know I cannot talk to all of you about the opportunities, you've already seen them. I know my colleagues who have been in the corporate world that have since branched into agribusiness. I applaud you and I encourage you, but many are coming, and we must encourage other people to look at this opportunity before other people take it up, in our midst. So I would like to once again congratulate the Ugandan team led by John Jagwe and Lillian for launching this valuable platform to our female entrepreneurs in Uganda. I would like to encourage all of us to not only sign up today, but encourage others to also sign up. But most importantly, stand up, present your idea, and do not cut corners. You must have a solid business plan. You must have financials. You must understand the market that you're serving, because one major other dismay I find in the agriculture sector is to believe that there is a market for food. That is a disservice to ourselves. You must tangibilize the market Otherwise, you will produce and lose 40% of the products you're producing for. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure being home. I will be staying online and happy to engage. Over to you, John. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aggie. She prefers that we call her Aggie. You know, in Africa, we are full of respecting people. But she prefers that we call her Aggie. You've done us proud as Uganda. You're a woman of great achievement. Now, let us know who is in the room. Those of us who are in this room have been selected carefully because you're going to be watched by hundreds of people. And so it's important that we know who is in the room today. I'll skip Honorable Victoria because we shall introduce her. So let's take it like that. Your name, your organization, the position, inspire people. The position in that organization, if you are in business, which business do you do? Which product are you putting out on the market? And yeah, what was your greatest day in life? Let's make it a little interesting. Greatest day in life also. Tell us. All right.
Good morning. My name is Anna Ortego, and I'm a co-founder and team leader at Network of Women in Agribusiness and Development. We empower women at the bottom of the pyramid. And my greatest day was when I was born. I wouldn't be here.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Birungi Kortaro, and I'm the CEO of Kilimo Trust. Kilimo Trust is a regional organization that supports farmers, traders, processors, and all value chain actors access markets in East Africa. We see East Africa as one market. One thing about that has excited me the most, one, seeing farmer groups owned by women-led farmer groups engage in cross-border trade.
All right. Wonderful. Yes, Richard, you are the other man in the room. You can walk to one close to you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Richard Vasalira, and I'm supporting the Agra country office in Uganda. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see half faces, full faces because of this COVID era in which we live. My name is Lillian Gidinji. I must welcome you and also say thank you very much for honoring this event, and we look forward to great discussions and inspiring women in Uganda. I serve the Agra country office in my position as an associate program officer. Thank you.
We have a third man.
Morning, members.
Morning.
My name is Senior Mlindwa. I'm a journalist from Daily Monitor.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
The fourth state. The fourth estate or estate? I don't know. Okay, let's move to this side.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nalima Emma. I'm a smallholder farmer at 1 Acre Unlimited, and I'm also a director of MSc Junior School. So my greatest moment was when 1 Acre Unlimited birthed MSc Junior School that is biased to agriculture. So we teach the young people the three things every African should know: time management, value of money, and the culture of saving through farming.
Wonderful.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jane Nalunga. I'm the country director of Siatini, Uganda. Siatini is a mouthful, Southern and Eastern African Trade Information and Negotiations Institute. I work in the Eastern and Southern African region. We have an office in Zimbabwe and in Nairobi. We work on trade, on economic issues, trade, investment, tax, to ensure that those policies work for the people especially the most vulnerable, the women, the rural women. My moment, I'll maybe talk about it later.
No,
I'm
say
just
it.
thinking about it.
Say, you are still thinking.
Yes.
Okay, we'll give you a chance.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. So none of you has said the day you got married or something. So we know marriage doesn't work. Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mona Muguma Sebeliba, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for ABI Finance. ABI is a social development organization that is focused on addressing bottlenecks, both within specific value chains and especially also bottlenecks to accessing finance for agribusiness development. And my greatest highlight, I will start with this week. Let me focus on this week, is this engagement.
Oh.
Being in a space like this with powerful women and men, addressing a very crucial topic, especially, and one that I'm going to speak about is women, and I'd like to add youth, addressing the barriers that prevent them from accessing technology and finance. The more we engage in these and hopefully come up with tangible actions that we will implement is a great achievement for us, and you know, moving from talk to action. But yes, this has certainly been my highlight. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Okay, morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Goodla Naiga Basaza, Managing Director and Founder, Goody Leisure Farm and Goody Incubation Center. We incubate youth, 70% women, 30% refugees, 5% disabled. My best moment was on 10th December 2009, when I took a decision to get out of the lecture room and go to work with people at the base of the pyramid.
Wow.
Right now, we are working in 750 villages of Uganda, and we reach 112,500 youth within our network. And in each of these villages, we've been able to give them a tablet and projector, and they're able to learn every week.
Wonderful.
Thank you for inviting me here. It's exciting to be here, and I'm glad I'm here and alive. As
All
I was
right.
coming in, somebody got an accident just next to golf course and died there.
Oh no. Okay. Great to see you, Goodla. And Goodla is biologically related to someone in Agra, I think. Okay.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. Rosalyn Kawasita Nyamutale, the Country Director for Sasakawa Africa Association. We work with smallholder farmers, and our target is at least 60% women, smallholder farmers. We work with the youth and also involve the people with disabilities. I'm a farmer, a vegetable farmer, dairy and piggery. I'm a vet by profession, by the way. I have 37 years experience working with agriculture sector and the rural communities. I'm one of the directors of Agribusiness Development and Management Consults that was founded in 2005 by 6 professional ladies. I'm the director and founder of Verona Nursery, Daycare and Primary School, dedicated to my father, a teacher by profession, 90 years now, and rest in peace, my late mom, also a teacher. That is the Verona. Veronica, Rosalyn, and Nyamutale. I belong to a women's group where I do my small-scale farming in Wikwe, and I joined it to help them do better in their agribusinesses. One of the things that excited me, I was with my mom in primary 5. I planted beans, sold 2 tins at 14 shillings. And to me, that was great achievement at that time.
Wonderful, great. You see, your introductions are already inspiring many people out there. Okay, last but not least.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Biwaga Stella Murray. I'm the program director with the National Association of Women Organizations in Uganda. Now, it is a network organization, member-based. We have women farmers, we have members of cooperative societies, we have faith-based organizations, women-led organizations that are registered, and we are across the country. I think we are the oldest, born out of the National Women's Council before Ministry of Gender was created. So we are, I think, the oldest women's organization in Uganda. My greatest day was the day I met Pope Francis.
Oh.
I felt so
Blessed.
so whole, so blessed. It meant a lot to me. And I'm excited to be here today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Dr. Emma forgot to say she won a food prize. But that wasn't her greatest day, so I think she has won many more things.
Excuse me, John?
Yes, please.
I forgot one.
Yes.
I'm a member of Uganda Professional Women in Agriculture and Environment, of which Honorable Victoria Sejoleko is one of the founders, and we are still members. We work to uplift the livelihoods of smallholder farmers, but also for professional advancement of the professionals, of the women.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great session of introductions. I'll also tell you my greatest day. Okay, I've had many, several. But one of them in this profession was Nao one time hired me for, I think, a whole year to go and train. It hired my consultancy firm before I joined Agra to train women in Luwero district. I spent, I think, 8 months daily going to Luwero and training women the skills I know, how to make money in agriculture. And at the end of that training, that session, 8 months, we were winding up. And here comes a woman with a chicken in her arm and a jerry can of milk. And she said, the knowledge you have given me is going to change my life. No one has ever given me such knowledge. So I was so touched. I went home with that chicken and that jerry can of milk, feeling at least I am making a change in someone's life. Okay. Now, right now I have the honor and pleasure of inviting Honorable Victoria Sejoleko. She's a woman of great achievement, great achievement. She did BSc Agriculture. That's the little I know. She has worked in FAO at very high levels, you know, a rep and a regional director. Those are very high positions in the UN. She's been a minister for agriculture here and many more things. So, Honorable Victoria, with pleasure, I want to invite you to make a keynote address to us. Thank you.
Do you have a spray for the microphone? Because I want to take off my mask. Okay. Thank you. I'm speaking to you in Uganda. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. John. First of all, now that I'm from him, I'll take off my mask. First of all, I want to acknowledge the presence of the Vice President of Agra, then our own Aggie. Nice to see you. I knew you were always passionate about agriculture. and I knew somehow you end up in agribusiness, and I was really excited that day you had finally come home. You distinguished ladies, I honestly love all of you. These days, whenever I meet somebody I know who I would have hugged, I take a note and say, when the corona is over, I owe you a hug. But only for today, I suspended it because I had to hug one of you. That is how much I love people in agribusiness. Maybe let me first of all welcome everybody, and then too tell you that having done those jobs in my life, being a minister, then working with the UN, you get used to speeches being written for you. But when you retire and you are invited 10 years later to say something, you are not obliged at all to stick to the speech. So thank you very much, Lillian, for the speech. But I'm not going to stick to it because I'm going to make my speech very, very short. For me, what I did was invited to this function is I took, where was I right now? I've got a fantastic, 5 years old. So whenever I really simplify it from wherever it was for her to, and why must I simplify it? The vice president and Aggie and watched him speak those things they couldn't understand. So I don't want us women from agribusiness who are up there speaking a language which the ordinary woman does not understand. In fact, I think this is because of the friends I have now. One of my best friends is a greengrocer. She actually specializes in just one item. She sells sweet bananas. But she's one of those women who really saves my day. If and when I'm stuck somewhere, I just call her and say, Ngabuli Jo, and she knows that I need pineapples, I need her bananas, I need oranges. She knows what to put in my basket. Now, I would like that woman to be a member of this group. And for me, when John says that day that he was given the chicken and the milk is the day he felt that he was appreciated. For me, that day we wake up and those women are really part and parcel of these networks, then I will say, oh, we are getting somewhere. Because I get very frustrated when, for example, I go to the market and speak to these women who are selling tomatoes, and you find that the tomatoes have just been sprayed. And you genuinely ask, because I don't ask as a minister, I just ask as a friend, why do they look wet? They look like they have just been sprayed. Oh, they have told us that when we spray them now, they will not go bad. Of course, it is not right. It is not scientific. I don't even know how it started in Uganda. But if we want to change it, that is how far we have got to go. Which brings me to today's function. We are talking about Value for Her Connect. And I want to summarize this into what I'm going to tell my granddaughter. What I'm going to tell her is that every woman who is an agribusiness in all those SMEs have been invited to plug in and go. So for me, what is this day about? Invite Ugandan agribusiness women to plug in and go, meaning everything has been set up for you. You have seen those 4 areas: connect with finance, connect among women, connect to markets, connect to technology. All that Agra is saying is we have done the homework. Plug in and go. I'm definitely sure every woman will hopefully understand this and can do this. Okay, this timing is not the best for Uganda because, as you know, either yesterday or the day before, our parliament decided to increase tax on internet. I thought about this. Of course, we need phones. Not every woman can afford an iPhone, but I have found that some women actually share when it comes to business. They actually share. When you invite them to these Zooms and they know the time. One time I was passing a barber's place and there were about 5 people watching from a distance, but they were using a laptop. So this is Uganda. This is home. Whatever it throws at us, we should find a way to survive. So, since there is no alternative, we cannot choose not to go digital. And this particular function cannot be operationalized without going digital. We women, however low we are, cannot choose to remain analog. We do not have any alternative but getting there. I don't know why, whenever women look like they're about to break through, somebody brings a hurdle. Because this business of you are paying OTT, then they increase this tax and then they increase that tax. You know, the other day, I was joking with one of the MPs who is not very far from my age, and I asked him if they understand what they are doing. Honestly, I was not being derogatory. I was just asking them if they understand. And of course, I told him, I don't mean anything bad, but I really want to know. One, the Uganda government bought you iPads. Why do you insist on meeting in Kampala? Why can't you stay where you are and meet from there? Then two, when they approved OTT, they wanted to be exempted from OTT. Fortunately, they were not exempted. That is one. Two, fortunately, most of those who approved are now back on the street. So together with them, we shall suffer this. I hope eventually the whole of Uganda will learn that it is not only the women, but everybody suffers this. That is why, in spite of all that, we are going to, I'm going to suggest that we continue with this technology. We get in there. We have got to occupy our space. We have got to keep talking about women in agribusiness. We have got to be visible. How do we get visible? One of the things that this technology is going to help us to do is improve our quality and our branding. You cannot be known unless you are branded. So women, we are always suspicious about technology. We are always suspicious about new things. We always want to come in last. Can I suggest something? For this time, for once, get in there today and observe. Just be there and see what is happening. When me to know a number of people who are in there, you can do what we as women typically do. But then you want to go to somebody and ask your affirmation as we go along. But for now, I thank you. My most exciting day actually happened last year. That is 2020. That is the day my book, The Farmer's Daughter, was published. And the real reason I was excited, I always tell people, write your autobiography, write this and write the other. Writing is not easy. Right now, I'm writing my autobiography, but I practically make an appointment with myself. I'm now on page 174. That is how close I know it. And I give it like 3 hours on, like tomorrow, I'll do 3 hours of that book. It is a lot of work if you want to do a good job. So that was my happiest day, The Farmer's Daughter. And when I went to this bookshop and saw it, at first I'm like, is it right? Then it was there. So thank you.
And we shall be among the first to buy that book. All right. This is a great moment. Right now, I'm going to hand over to Lillian Lillian has put all this together. When she asked me for names, I quickly had names here. I said, of course, Honorable Victoria Sejoleko. Which country has such a powerful woman? Then we have our Africa Food Prize winner, you know, and all of you, very great women in this room. So I would like to hand over to Lillian to now take us to the next session of panels. Over to you, Lillian.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jagwe, for this far that you've taken us. Honorable Victoria, thank you so much. I hope all the discussions that we have had, the questions you are asking, I see how you put them into use in giving us your wonderful speech and introductory remarks. Ladies and the few gentlemen in the room, thank you so much again. I cannot overthank you for honoring this event, and also I'm sure the work that has gone into preparing the answers to some of the things that we expected to discuss here in this panel. I can also not forget to invite, thank you so much. I cannot also not forget to invite and welcome warmly our online participants. Thank you so much for also making time to join us today. Sorry for some of us who had wanted to join us physically, but I am sure you're able to participate and benefit from these discussions just as well. Allow me to now transition to the next chapter of this meeting, the panel discussion, which is the gist of this meeting. And I will start doing so by introducing Dr. Nalunga, who is going to be the moderator of one of the panels. And ladies and gentlemen, we have two panels today. One is on expanding markets for inputs and output for women in agribusiness in Uganda, and the other is addressing barriers that women in agribusiness in Uganda face. In this regard, allow me to introduce Dr. Nalunga, who is going to be the moderator of the first panel on expanding markets for inputs and output for women in agribusiness. And I know she introduced herself, but I think she was extremely modest in who she is. So allow me to be a little elaborate on who she is. She's, like Dr. Jagwe intimated, the Africa Food Prize winner 2019. She's also the founder of Animal Care Center in Entebbe. She's a smallholder farmer and a private veterinarian focusing on clinical medicine and heart health. She previously worked for the National Animal Genetics Resource Center and Data Bank, and is an officer in Entebbe in charge of livestock environmental station. She also worked for the president, yes, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, she was modest. The president of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Kaguta Museveni, on his personal dairy farm to improve the genetics of his herd through artificial insemination. She has also served as the chairman of the Red Cross Mbarara, one of the cities we have here in Uganda. And she has a master's in medicine, in health services research, and a bachelor's in science veterinary medicine from Makerere University here in Uganda. Dr. Nalunga, I call upon you to take over the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lillian. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today feels like Women's Day. Yeah, so it's, I don't know if you thought about it. I think this week you're like, oh, Mother's Day is coming along. And I'm happy to moderate this. So when Lillian contacted me, I'm like, oh my God, how do I handle this? This panel, these are high profile women. But I'm really, really grateful that I'm here, and I hope I do a good job. The online participants, welcome. Now, this is a very nice platform. And when she told me this, I'm like, okay, the first thing that came to my mind was what Honorable Victoria said. How about the women at the grassroots? What are we going to do for these women? And then I read all about you, all about the panelists, and I'm like, yeah, this is the way to go. So we have a panel of 4 There were 5 at first. That's Lillian, at least 4. The third one hasn't come. She's an MP. The fifth, she hasn't come. She's an MP, Dr. Agnes Atima Pair. She must be maybe in the parliament right now. We have Dr. Birungi Korutaro, the Chief Executive Officer, Kilimo Trust. I think because in the interest of time, and since we all introduce ourselves, I think I'll stop at that. And then we have Honorable Dr. Agnes, that's the one who is not around, Executive Officer, Hope Development Initiative. And Miss Goodla Naiga Basaza, Co-founder and Managing Director, Goody Leisure Farm. Miss Anna Otedel, Team Leader, Network Women in Agribusiness and Development. And then Miss Julian Omala, Founder and Managing Director, Delight, Uganda and Global Fund. I think she's not around as well. Okay. Now, my first question goes to Dr. Birungi. What opportunities are there for us to get for gainful engagement for women in agricultural value chains? Can you please discuss that? Because you have a vast experience. You have 37 years of dealing with. Oh, no. Oh, no. I think I have a wrong. Okay. Yeah, Dr. For Kilimo Trust, can you please tell us a few things about how women can tap into the value chain and how they can go about that?
Thank you very much, moderator, and good morning once again to all our participants. And I will be talking about our experience, one, as a regional organization that supports women right from the grassroots at the bottom of the pyramid, but also as a person passionate about developing and supporting the girl child and women. I'm a mentor and a cohort leader in an initiative that supports women. So I will be speaking with 2 hats and seeing how best we can do this to ensure that we see more women in agribusiness thrive. So my question, what opportunities for gainful engagement exist for women in agricultural value chains? When we look at the agricultural value chains, one cannot say that the opportunities are specifically for women. The opportunities are there. I think what we need to be saying is, where do we find most of the women? We find most of the women at the production node, and at the production node, because of the quantities that they produce, they are not able to get the kind of incomes that we would want them to earn, so that they could certainly be more involved in bigger agribusinesses as we would want them to be. So having said that, the challenge is also that when the women are in these particular value chains that I'll take you through, some of those value chains, once the men realize that they are getting commercialized, they also go in and push out the women. So we need to start having the discussion of what do we need to do to keep the women there and to support them to thrive and benefit from various nodes of the value chain. The opportunities exist, and I'm going to talk about those opportunities. What are those opportunities at the various points of the value chain? I can start with the input node, input provision. We have quite a number of large, reputable now input suppliers that are providing genuine inputs, but they are struggling with the last mile distribution. And certainly at the bottom of the pyramid, our farmers, our women want to get good quality inputs, and women can actually provide that service. They can be owners of kiosks, they can be distributors of these inputs. That is a huge opportunity for women that can also, allows them to be able to continue doing their motherly roles, but also distributing valuable inputs required by farmers. The other aspect, a low-hanging fruit, is aggregation. We are struggling with seeing how we can get volumes in terms of to get to the market, national markets, regional markets, global markets. We can see women get involved in aggregation. Aggregation, milk collection centers, women can be involved at that point. Animal feed factories, there's a lot that can be done to aggregate at that point and also process. So women can come in at small and medium-sized level at that level. There's also service provision. And many times when we are talking about agriculture, we seem to always talk about production, production, production. But there's services. There are multiple services along the value chain. And women can benefit from being service providers. I can give an example: service providers in providing shelling services, service providers in providing threshing services. They can also own a group of these this equipment and hire young village agents, what we call them, village agents in the communities, to do these services. So those services exist. There are also post-harvest handling equipment. There's a lot of opportunities there for women to be involved in providing those that kind of equipment. We also have, when I talk about post-harvest handling equipment, we are also getting and have been supporting fabricators of affordable equipment that are accessible to those at the bottom of the pyramid. And we can create these linkages to support women to get engaged in offering those services to the farmers at the bottom. Then there is trading. Women are trading in these value chains. The challenge is that we find that they are doing retail trade and wholesale trade, mainly retailers. Like our guest speaker has just said, the lady that provides her with the services. We find those that provide the tomatoes, the onions, that's where majority of them are, but they can go up. And we will, as we go further in the discussion, we'll see how we can move women from that point on to be much bigger. And like I said earlier, my highlight was seeing women move from farmer group right to cross-border traders. They can move. It can happen. And we are going to discuss that further as we go along. But also, one cannot underrate that they need a lot of support. And we'll discuss those aspects. So marketing is key, and women can also be involved in marketing of multiple products in the value chain. So how do we support them to reduce some of these challenges? Again, we'll talk about access to information, but how do we provide that information more readily for them? Again, we can look at different aspects. Do we profile them because there are different levels, they're in different value chains? There are aspects that we can consider, but like we said, let's leverage on technology. As has been mentioned, can we use the mobile phone? Can we use other technologies to support women access this information? So the opportunities are diverse, and women can get involved at different points of the value chain. It's how we support them to do that we should discuss better. Thank you very much.
Technology. Let's go to Dr. Goodla. Take us through the leisure farm, the activities at Goody Farm, and how you enable the women and the youth, because you told us you have about 70% are women, and then you also, and how actually you engage with these other people. The 30% is from refugees. So when you told us this, I'm like, oh my, it goes an extra mile.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share what we do at Goody Leisure Farm. I talked about the date of 10th December 2009, when I took that decision to leave the lecture room to go to the people at the base of the pyramid. I thought there was a lot we were doing at university and research that never reached the people at the base of the pyramid. So I decided to resign at Uganda Matters University, go and start implementing what I thought was lacking. So we started an incubation center where we were targeting young people from the base of the pyramid. At that time, we didn't do it right. We'd pick anyone, but later we decided, let us go to particular districts, pick them from particular villages where we can follow them for growth. So right now we are working in 22 districts and we have district agents, and in each district we go to 30 villages, that is from 30 parishes. We pick 6 youth who are value chain linked. We pick a youth whom we incubate to manage the feeding of the animals. We are into white meat value chain. We are into chicken, fish, rabbits, turkeys, and pigs. So we have the first youth of the 6 is a feeder. They learn how to produce low-cost feeds for the entire value chain. Then the second node is the producer, the one who learns how to manage the animals, to raise the animals. Then we have the marketer, the one who looks out for the market and runs what we call the farmer service center. At each village, we make sure there is a farmer service center where farmers can bring their produce, they can order for their inputs, and they also do what we call technology leasing. I don't have to own a knapsack sprayer if I'm using it once a week. I just go to the farmer service center, hire it, say for 2,000, use it, return it, and somebody else can use it. And when it's broken, we can replace it because we've been paying the 2,000. Then we have the 4th node, the transporter. Here we train the youth who are able to transport either the feeds or the meat to the market, or the inputs that we want from wherever they are to our farmer service center. Then we have the youth agropreneur vendor. These are the youth that add value to meat. Most of these are on the street. For example, within Kampala, Mukono, and Wakiso, we have over 300 youth that are roasting chicken on the road, pork, fish, and by the end of next year, there will be 600. Then we have the last youth, who is the youth agropreneur health promoter. This one ensures that whatever we do, we are conscious of the health of the animal and of the person and the food that we supply. So what is exciting about this is after the youth have finished incubation, we have 3 campuses. We have the white campus in Nigeria. Actually, when I was coming here, and there was a German, I said, this meeting should have been on a farm so that we are promoting something in the right place, and we can see probably the obstacles within there. So we have 3 campuses. We have the white campus in Nigeria, where we do the training of the 5 nodes, the feed campus in Sinjiro, where we do the training of the feeders, and we have a green campus where we do the training of those who are handling medicinal and aromatic plants, which we actually use to add value to our meat. After the incubation, they go back to their villages. They start what we call a village entrepreneurship learning association. And in here, they train weekly. We are increasing the amount of knowledge in the farmers. There are things which you always think are very known to everyone. At times, some of us get this thing because we are going for particular meetings. You are the one who goes for the agriculture show. You are the one who listens to Nalunga talking. You know everything that is out there. But the ordinary person in the village actually has no idea that there's this new variety of beans that takes only 2 months, that there's this maize that is resistant. They don't actually know. So when they are even accessing inputs, they are not actually looking for that quality input. They just say, give me beans. They are not saying, I want the other bean, which is fortified with zinc. So we thought that having a village entrepreneurship learning association is key to increase knowledge, to increase skills at village level. So these youth are followed up for 10 years, and within 10 years, they should at least have trained 150 youth within their village. Then each year, they go within the parish. So at the end of the 10 years, the entire parish should have been trained, but it's a business. They are earning 1,000 per person for the session of training. Then they also go to schools. They form what we call school agri-clubs, where they introduce agriculture in school, and the young people should be using the knowledge they are learning in class to apply to their little business that they are running. The other thing that we do is agritourism, where we encourage the youth outside our target group to come for tourism to see and probably be able to implement.
Wow.
And lastly, how do we attract the women? We have daycare centers. We have a daycare center. You are allowed to come with your child to learn.
Wow, wow, wow. This is so inspiring. I didn't want to stop. We have, I forgot to tell you that we all have 10 minutes for I will be giving you about 3 questions, but you see how geared up we are when we're asked to speak, you see someone speaking from the heart and we don't want to stop. But for the interest of time, keep the rest, I'll come back to you. And now let's go to Anna Ortego, who is a development professional with cross-disciplinary experience in project management, resource mobilization, donor relationship management, community mobilization, and project execution at the field level. So, with that experience of having to deal with resource mobilization, community mobilization, what prevents women at the bottom of the pyramid from participating in gainful agribusinesses?
Thank you, Dr. Nalunga. Allow me to say something about the organization that I head. A network of women in agribusiness and development is a social enterprise that seeks to empower women at the bottom of the pyramid with skills that they can use to create sustainable livelihoods. In particular, we provide them with skills in modern farming practices. We take them through what, for example, climate smart agriculture is all about. We take them through permaculture. Most of these technologies end in these boardrooms. But when you go down, they don't know what it's all about. So we try to break it down for them. We also train them on how to do farming as a business. We take them through post-harvest handling. Many of them grow maize, beans, and things like that, but they don't know how to handle these products. At the end of the day, they reap very little money from them because of the way they handle the products. So we try to guide them and provide them with tools, simple tools. We also take them through value addition. NOAD has developed different models through which the women we support can access agricultural inputs and better markets for their products. One of the models that we have is promoting local investment in agriculture. We believe that corporate women, for example, have money that they want to invest in a side hustle, for example, and are interested in agriculture, but they don't have the time to run such a business and the technical know-how. So we link these local investors to the women at the grassroots. And as NOAD, we fix the gaps. For example, do they have land to grow these crops? Do they have the technical skills? We train the women, and we're trying to work with a software developer to develop a platform through which the corporate women will be able to monitor their investments while in office, and they only have to visit the farms when they can. We also have another model of linking the local women to financiers and agro dealers. We're trying to develop that. We have a few offers from financiers that we are trying to study to see how their terms and conditions can favor the women. Then we also have a value addition model whereby we train the women to grow vegetables. We've started with the vegetable value chain. In particular, we are promoting sukuma wiki because it's easy to grow and you don't need a lot of land to grow sukuma wiki. So we train our women to grow sukuma wiki and we buy it from them at a premium and then process the sukuma wiki and sell it in high-end supermarkets and other markets. NOAD has been around since 2018 and we are self-funded. We don't have any external funding for now. And to date, we've been able to support 350 women
These are women that I can take you to, and you see that they have actually benefited from our programs. Yes. Through our work at the grassroots, we've discovered that there are so many barriers that prevent the women from engaging in commercial agriculture. I'll tell you that I grew up in Hoima, and in Hoima we had a lot of land. All the neighbors had large chunks of land. Dr. Nalunga talked about farming on 9 acre. We work in the central districts of Mityana, Luwero, Wakiso, and Wuyikwe. I was shocked when we went to Mityana that the women don't even have half an acre. They have plots of land where they grow their food. So that is a major hindrance for them to engage in commercial agriculture. The best they can grow, actually they hire land, and they can't even afford to hire a full acre. They only grow food for home consumption. So that really limits them in engaging in commercial agriculture. There's also an issue of gender roles. The women are the ones who take care of the home. They're the ones who fetch water, fetch firewood. They're the mothers, they're the wives. So that also limits them from engaging in commercial agriculture because the time is not there. The only time that they manage to work on larger farms is when, for example, they want to buy seed for the next season. Then they spare a day in a week to go and work on a larger farm where they earn a daily wage of, say, 7,000 for them to afford 1 or 2 kilograms of beans, or when they want to buy soap. Commercial agriculture is left to the men because for them, they have the ability to hire large pieces of land, and it's not very clear what their money does because the women are still the ones who take care of the home. When the children are sick, they're the ones who pay the medical bills. Sorry, I'm still talking. There's also a challenge of access to extension services. We used to have extension services earlier when NADS was still very strong. I don't know what happened to those extension workers, but where we work, we don't have extension workers. So the women don't know what to do, when to spray, when to harvest. They just, and then they also depend on seasonal rains. So they don't use irrigation, they don't use fertilizer. So I talked about the linkages model that we are trying to create, and we're trying to get on board extension workers that can move around the villages that we work in, training these women on how to do better agriculture.
The beauty with this is, the beauty with this platform is that we are here to listen in this and then make sure that we help each other. Just the way we are, like the panelists here, that challenge can be sorted by Goodla.
Yes. It's actually a business opportunity.
Yeah, that challenge can be sorted by Goodla, because when she started telling us how she trains, and I'm like, oh my God, this lecturer, she's doing a lot of work. I think she's doing work for 10 universities in Uganda. And I was wondering how you are able to capture all this data. And I was asking, do you really have all this data? How you follow them up for 10 years? 10 years is a very long time. But when you listen in to all of them, this is one thing I've been listening, or I've been seeing. Everyone is talking about training, 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 training. So that's a big factor there. And if we network, like that's the essence of this. From here, you're going to go actually with Goodla and tell her all those issues, and we go ahead. But now let me go back to Dr. Birungi. How can women in agribusiness in Uganda take a greater advantage of the output markets that exist nationally, regionally, and internationally, especially in an environment that appears to disfranchise them?
Thank you very much, Dr. Nalunga. I'll start on that question by just addressing, for me, what I consider to be really fundamental. And in the development space, it's something that we usually ignore, and that is getting to understand who we are as women. We need to find ourselves and our voices first, because usually we can't ignore that what society says who we should be, what we should do, plays a role at the end in who we are as women. And there are certain stereotypes that we can't ignore and that we have found that affect women right from the base of the pyramid to us, even us who have PhDs, that hamper our ability to take advantage of opportunities. So that must be the first. And in terms of finding our voice, what must we do? We must be as women who can speak. Are we able to support women right at the farmer level in these groups to communicate well and help them to negotiate, not just for themselves, but for others? And if we can put that together, and it has been done, and in the kind of support that we are working in as women mentorship groups, we can do it. We can integrate and incorporate some of these aspects in the support interventions that we provide, at a very low cost. Issues of courageous leadership. We must be able to stand up and speak for others as women. And once we address this as a fundamental aspect, as Honorable Victoria Sejoleko said, we get to the bottom of the problem. That is the problem. Once, as women, we have gotten to that issue and we have seen it, then we can now come to what I'm going to say. Is a woman who is empowered that way will seek for information, because they don't lack information. Information about where the opportunities are, information about what they need to do in these particular value chains, information about where the markets are. But that said, information is critical. It's not available. Organizations like Kilimo Trust are investing heavily in sharing this information, but not everyone can get it. We need to find ways in which women at the bottom of the pyramid can get information about the opportunity. For instance, I was supposed to tell you which opportunities or which value chains can women take advantage of. I didn't mention that. For instance, I can tell you now, tomatoes. A farmer of tomatoes, if they're doing good agronomic practices, per acre can earn up to 26 million shillings per acre per year. These are opportunities that women can seize. If we look at, for instance, dairy, from one cow, you can earn 6 million shillings per year.
30 seconds.
Okay. So that said, information, skilling, like as you alluded to, skilling is very important, but skilling, hand-holding, and mentorship. The women that I told you that transitioned from farmer group to trader, to cross-border trader, it took them 7 years of support. It wasn't just one training session. And of course, as the next panelists are going to speak, finance. Finance is huge, and I won't delve into that one. But what I think can also help women access output markets is policy. And at a policy level, I think more needs to be made to support, for instance, we have seen like in Kenya, public procurement, there's a quota for women. Can women be given that opportunity? Even not in public sector, even private sector, they can put incentives to support women. If you're buying from women, you're given a tax rebate. There are the incentives that can be given to support women to take advantage of these opportunities and transition right from being farmers right at the bottom of the pyramid to being large businesses that we want them to be. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot. You talked about we should speak up, and when you talked about that, I just remembered, oh, I forgot to tell you, we call Honorable Sejoleko Mama Agriculture. She really speaks, whatever opportunity she's given, she will speak about agriculture. So I hope the women we are dealing with, or the youth, or whoever we're dealing with, we have to teach them. And the worst case scenario, please, I said like this is an opportunity to share. Honorable Victoria is actually, how do they teach to speak? I forgot. Yeah, it's a public speaker. So, so those of you who want, or who have like women groups, that maybe the leaders are timid a little bit, you go to her, she will be able to take you through public speaking. Yeah, now, good luck. What skill gaps exist that prevent women in agribusiness from taking advantage of accessing available markets and access to inputs?
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak from my own experience. When I look at the women that we deal with, one key thing that I found that is lacking is a financial literacy of their business. Things like being able to know your cost benefit analysis before you determine your price. Seems to be a very simple skill, but very vital. We did a study with the 22 farming households and asked them to be able to record whatever expense they are making. At the end of 1 year, they found out that they had been donating food without being recognized. They always sold at a price below their cost price. So that simple skill is extremely very important. So once you overcome that and you know your break even, because there are people who are farming on a very small scale that will never make economic sense. So that is a basic skill. You must know how much should I produce in what quantities to make an economic benefit for me. So once that is solved, then you have your product. And you need to know at what point must I sell my product. There are those products that are best sold when they are raw. Somebody who is selling raw maize makes more money than the person who has dried the maize. So you need to know at what point. So being able to do a cost benefit analysis along the value chain of your product. Not all products add value with time. Some lose value. So at what point do I make the most money for this particular product? Then once you reach the market, being able to negotiate. I think Birungi talked about the issue of communication. There is nobody going to market anything without communicating. And this time we are not communicating the product that I'm selling maize. What value are you selling? People will only buy 3 things. They are buying your product because it's solving a certain problem. They are buying your product because it's doing the job they are not able to do, or they are buying your product because it will give them some gain. So if you are not able to articulate that value, and I think earlier one of the people said, how do we make it possible for people to choose us and not anybody else? It is going to be the way we are communicating and negotiating with the customer. I think that one is very key. Now, the other skill is after you have done that value chain analysis of the cost benefit analysis, being able to produce the product in the quality and package that is needed. We are into chicken. During COVID-19, we were surprised because before people came to our farm to buy their chicken, to buy their pork. Now, during COVID-19, we actually found out that we had to deliver. Luckily, we had transport means to do so. But we found that our main customers were people living alone. They didn't want a whole chicken. And from the beginning, for us, we know everybody buys a whole chicken. So people told us, I want a quarter of a chicken. And I'm like, okay, I want parts. We want it cooked. So we have to know what the customer actually wants. It's no longer sitting at home and saying that people will need food. But people are now very choosy about the food they want. I want a quarter of chicken. I want it marinated with rosemary. So all those things you have to know if you want to fetch a higher price. So the skill of doing your market intelligence so that we are giving the market exactly what they want and we treat them as kings because they are kings indeed.
Wow, 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 wow. When you're talking about knowing exactly what you want and validation, I mean value, I remembered, sorry, I'm going to talk about, it's breakfast. I hope everyone has taken their breakfast because something I'm going to talk about is something funny, but it's very good to me. So can you imagine I made maggots valuable and I sell them a kilo, I sell it 5,000 shillings. Can you imagine? I feed them on chicken, fish, and all that. But I'm just trying to see how, so these are the things we need to teach our women and skill them so that they understand, because the mindset, we have this thing that our minds have to change and the onus is on us, the trainers, the Keynote Trust people and the community lady to make sure, and the financiers, to make sure that we come on board and train these women. Now, Anna, how important is women net? No, I think I asked you that. How important is skilling women in agribusiness to be able to seize more opportunities in whatever agribusiness they are involved? It's the same thing, but I want an input from you as well, because
one, you just talked about Dr. Victoria, training people in public speaking. The women we deal with don't even have the confidence of entering a bank. They fear those buildings. So skilling them in personal development, confidence, self-esteem really helps them to come up, and actually you realize that along the way they begin taking up leadership positions, either at community level or sub-county level, but that helps. Then Dr. Goodla has also talked about, no, it wasn't Dr. Goodla, it was Dr. Victoria who talked about the tomatoes in the market. These women are ignorant about the dangers of these chemicals. But if they're skilled on how to, of course, they're not able to read the labels on most of these chemicals, but if they're skilled on which chemicals to use, there are quite a number of chemicals that have been written off by UNBS, but they're still being used at community level. So skilling really helps these women to select what to use and what not to use. I talked about climate smart agriculture, which is talked about at national level, but not practiced in the field. So if we can break it down for these local women, then it will be helpful to them, so they don't have to wait for the rains, but they can actually embrace modern technology like irrigation, ox plows, if possible. Dr. Goodla talked about communal ownership of farming equipment. I think it's also something that they can actually do at community level, that they can own, one group can own an ox plow, and that increases their output. There's also an issue of quality improvement. I talked about post-harvest handling. It's an issue that our smallholder farmers deal with, that even just their beans, you find that the beans are not clean, they're not of a good quality, but if they're taken through quality standards, these are things that they can actually improve. Then many of them have groups, but are not trained. They don't know how to manage the groups, they don't know how to manage the dynamics. You find that at the end of the year, whatever money was saved is divided, and then in January they have to start afresh. And yet they could actually do a lot with the money that they've been saving throughout the year. Simple business management skills can also be achieved through skilling. How do you, for example, how do you create time? We know that the women that we work with are busy. They are the ones that take care of the homes. They actually have no time to engage in commercial agriculture. But through simple business management skills, they can actually improve. Many of them don't even know how to keep records. So skilling does address that. And yeah, I think that's what I can think about at the moment.
Wow, thanks a lot. You've seen even us who have gone to school have issues writing. I don't know how many of you, how many of you, not writing, but have issues with our finances. Yes, so I don't know how many of us go home and write everything we spent. You get your salary, it's 500,000, and within a day it's all spent. You're right, lucky you. So we need to really train these women, and it will start with us if some of us are not doing it, but then we also need to train the women who haven't gone to school. If you who has gone to school are having issues, what about them? Now, just one more question for Dr. Birungi, and then we wrap up because we have to go to the next panel. What should be done to improve access to productive assets by women in agribusiness to be able to take advantage of available markets nationally, regionally, and internationally? Of course, you told us women have done cross-border trade, but now I want us to take us through when we are looking at this thing now. Hoima is an oil city. We are going to make oil. And then the FID has been signed and everything has been done. So take us through and give us a picture, because this is the biggest opportunity right now that is in front of us.
Thank you very much. I think having set that scenario, for women to be able to take that opportunity, seize that opportunity, we must work collectively. I think thinking that we can do things individually we will never get there. We must work as groups. We must work as associations. We must network among each other. We must be our sisters' keepers. If I can't do this, which other sister can do this so that we ensure we meet this opportunity? So that said, join the trade associations. Women must be bold enough to join these trade associations, these business associations. We can create our business associations, but we can also join the business associations that the men are in. If we can't beat them, let us join them, but let us seize those opportunity by being together as a collective. So that is key in order to access the productive assets that we are talking about. And what are we talking about? Land. Land, how do we get, what should be done to access this? I'm looking at improved approaches to production. Land, we don't have to have land. Women don't have access to land, it's known. But there are technologies, landless technologies. Women can take advantage of hydroponics, greening initiatives, the greenhouses. They can take advantage of that. And some of those technologies are capital intensive, but as a group, they can utilize and seize that opportunity. The other a productive asset, of course, is finance. And access to finance, we are looking at special financing mechanisms. I'm glad that the government of Uganda has now put in place regulation to support the fintechs, and the fintechs are making strides in supporting women, youth in the rural communities to access finance. So we see, I'm sure in the next 1 year, when these fintechs can get licenses, have registered and have licenses, we'll see more women in groups, individually accessing finance, and that is a step in the right direction. But that, like has already been said, information, women need information. How will you know that they want a quota chicken or only chicken legs or even boiled beans, pre-cooked beans, if you don't have the information on what the consumer wants? So we need to understand that market information, and understand our consumer. Market information must be readily available to that woman at the bottom of the pyramid, and we still haven't gotten there to sharing that information and taking advantage of the technologies and the channels that these women use. And lastly, of course, collective action. Women, we can put together resources, however small, to start. And we have seen this. Women have started putting together resources. The women that I told you that started as farmer groups, as a farmer group, put together resources and transitioned, were able to buy a storage facility, were able to aggregate, and continuously were able to improve their outlook and were attractive to a financial institution later. But we can put together some resources, savings, collectively, we can be able to do that, however small it may be. Thank you very much.
Wow, thanks a lot. We are wrapping up. Good luck. Can you please give us one last comment from all this?
Thank you very much. As the first doctor of ICT in this country, I also believe that information is key, but also as women, we should see and become part of the information economy. When people have no information, you provide information, it's a business. We run our own TV, Goody TV, that is broadcasting in all our villages. And we know that the youth use this information to sell that information. But in so doing, they're helping people to be informed and to perform. And the other thing is women need to participate in the money economy. When you borrow money, it means you have capacity to pay that money. So can it be that the money you are borrowing is from the women and the profit that is being made is for the women? And you can also decide what interest rate we want. We are running an investment club for the entire network of our youth, and we borrow at 1% per month.
Wow.
Yeah, let us have money that is affordable. There is money that is actually taking us out of business. Thank you.
Wow, 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 1%. Do I qualify? Yes. Anne, your last word to us.
Mine is to everyone in this room that we should try and break down whatever we discuss in these boardrooms for the women at the bottom of the pyramid. They're very good ideas. We talked about hydroponics. How do we ensure that they're actually implementing such good ideas? Because actually, they don't have access to land. So I wouldn't want these nice ideas to end in the boardroom. They should be taken down to the grassroots.
Yeah, and you're the person to do that since you already actually doing.
All of us.
You're an expert in that. Yeah, from the panelists, this is what we've learned. We've learned that we've noticed that we all lack training. That's a big thing we have to do, training the youth, the women, training and skilling them. Also, we've seen that there's, in the gaps, also we've seen that there's, because they don't have access to land, we have issues. That's why technology is coming on. But don't worry, hydroponics is something simple. Sometimes it's just a word. I practiced that, and we've actually trained women, or not women, everyone who comes on the farm. We've trained it. And right now, actually, I'm running a training in Hoima. So when you told me you come from Hoima, I'm like, So we are training women. Okay, this fascinates me. When you call, of course, women come. But along even men come. And when they and when they come, the thing was for women and youth, the men come and they start saying, you see, for us, you're calling us, can you put it on the weekend? And you're like, hey, because we are busy working, you see? But it's okay when you tag along because you're the ones who give us money, but sometimes give us that space. So that you let us be. So we have to train the women, we have to train the youth. If we don't, then we're like you've said, if we leave this in the boardroom, it's not going to make sense. Land is an issue, and then information. I'll give you an example. When I went to Hoima recently to train these people, I thought this information was known, whatever I was giving them, and they're like, no, we didn't know. They have no clue. And these are the people who are in Hoima, in the oil city. And I was telling them, you people in Hoima, if you're like this, for us in Kampala, we are coming to sell these things. And this is what hurt me most. So I was training and I needed something, a vegetable, and they're like, you find it in the market. So I go to the market. And when I go to this market, they're like, no, they are not there. Come on Friday at 10. And I'm like, where do they come from? From Kampala. Vegetables, something you come across, all these things are coming from Kampala. So those are the low-hanging fruits that we have to deal with. Vegetables take a minimum of 3 weeks to 5 weeks, and you have money. Yeah, thanks a lot. We would like to thank Lillian once again, who has put up this together, and all the Agra team. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Nalunga, for, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Dr. Ima, I prefer to call you Dr. Ima because
just say Emma.
Because of my rather heavy tongue. So thank you. Great discussions, I must say. We have around between 60, they're fluctuating between 60 and 70 online participants who, in addition to us here, are listening to us, and I'm sure they are enjoying. The feedback is coming in fast and furious. And it's interesting as I was listening to this discussion that the ball is being passed to the court of the next panel, you know, issues of finance, issues of information, and I am delighted right now to be introducing our next facilitator. Ladies and gentlemen, I must admit that we are expecting a physical facilitator today, Dr. Atim. Agnes Atimapea, who is an honorable now, a member of parliament, but I had invited her in her capacity as also a woman who empowers fellow women. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, she was not able to make it. When you're embarking on a journey, you must plan for a detour. And so we quickly organized for a detour, and I'm glad now to introduce our head of gender and inclusiveness, Sabdio Dido, who spoke to us earlier and who I'm sure will come on screen very, very quickly. And just as a way of giving you a small background of what Subdio is, and I must say also the force behind what we are doing today, without her facilitation and a bigger team really that sits in our headquarters in Nairobi and in other places, we wouldn't be here today. Mine was just to implement what we had agreed, but thank you for all the support, including from the country manager, Dr. Jagwe. I also must say that these events are happening in all 11 Agra countries. Uganda happened to have been among the last, and so we have benefited a lot from what other countries have been doing. And this is actually the 10th. I think we have one more to go. So Subdio, as a way of introducing her, is the head of gender and inclusiveness in Agra. She has over 20 years of experience in international development. She's a thought leader on inclusive agriculture, value chains, and market systems with a special lens on women, youth, and a disadvantaged group. She's a senior professional credited with crafting winning strategies and innovative programs, advocating for women and youth in agriculture globally. She has a Master's of Business Administration degree, specializing specifically in agribusiness strategy, Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Economics. So you can see that we're in the right hands, at least in Agra, in taking the women empowerment agenda to the next level. So Subdio, you're most welcome. Take us through the next panel and session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lillian. And again, listening to the last panel, I am really so inspired by the fact that we have such a rich conversation from people who have their, their hands basically in this work. So I think a lot of the issues that we are going to explore in the next panel have already been sort of itemized by the last panel. But yes, allow me to introduce my next panel. The panel will be discussing will be addressing barriers to women in agribusiness. And yeah, maybe before I introduce the panelists, I just want to get back to some of the key premises of this issue. I talked earlier about the VALUE4HER program, and the VALUE4HER program actually is addressing the underlying constraints to women's excellence in agribusiness. And we've brought together some key resources. We're talking about finance and capital. We are talking about markets. We are talking about knowledge. We are talking about information and know-how, but we're also talking about that growth mindset to be able to take risks and lead businesses, towards growth out of possibly the local markets to other markets. So our panelists are going to zoom into some of these issues that have been identified as barriers to women's agribusiness growth, and they will help us to get to depth with the understanding, but also seeking solutions. So what is it that really works for promoting women in agribusiness, and how can we bring those solutions to scale? So this is really what we are going to explore. So to help us explore this, we have a very, very strong panel. And I am very, very happy to introduce to you Dr. Roslyn Nyamutale, who is the country director for Sasakawa, G2000 Uganda. Yes, Dr. Roslyn, maybe the camera could beam on her so that our participants can also see her. Yeah, Doctor, can you just wave so that our participants can see you? Yeah, we are really in a digital era, so unfortunately we cannot look at you face to face and introduce you, but it's still possible through this channel. So Dr. Roslyn has joined us, Sasakawa mid-2010, SAA mid-2010 as a country director for Uganda. She has 26 years of professional experience in agriculture development, working with a variety of organizations, including the Uganda Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, the country's National Agriculture Advisory Services, the Ministry of Finance, and various other international agencies, IFA, DFID, FAO, DANIDA, WINROC, and Ford Foundation. You can see that she brings in a wealth of experience that is really going to be very, very valuable for this conversation. Then our next panelist is Jen Saruwagi Nalunga, the Executive Director of SEATIN. Jen, could you kindly just wave so that we see you? Very, very good. I can see you, and I hope our panelists can see you. Jen is an expert on trade, tax, and investment-related issues. She has more than 20 years of experience in policy research, analysis, and advocacy, and has authored several policy-oriented studies and articles. Jen sits on several national policy-making bodies and advises government and parliament on trade, tax, and investment-related matters. So Jen is going to give us this experience and her perspectives on policy and how we could actually use policy to unlock some of these barriers that women face. Our third panelist is Mona Muguma Sebuliba. Mona, could you kindly just wave? Yeah, very good seeing you. Mona is, she currently holds the position of Chief Operating Officer at ABI Finance Limited. She previously held the role of Head of Asset Management and Deputy Chief Executive Officer at Africa Alliance Uganda Limited. And she also held the role of Regional Head of Programs for Africa with Akina Mama wa Africa, where she led a team to making strong impact across African continent, resulting in the retention of donors in economic season of funding withdrawal. Jen brings in also a wealth of experience working with women, but particularly bringing the financing dimension. I think this is so crucial for the conversation that we are having today, because we know one of the major challenges with businesses is a capacity to bring in capital and to utilize that capital for what is intended for the growth of the business. And our fourth panelist is Stella Maria Biwaga. Stella, could you just kindly wave? Yes, good to see you, Stella. Very good to see you. So Stella is, she's a lawyer by profession, an advocate of the High Court of Uganda with over 11 years of experience in litigation and human rights work. She has vast experience in project design, implementation, budgeting, monitoring, governance, and gender. Stella has trained in governance and natural resource management, NGO governance and management, and of course, she brings in lots of other credentials, extremely useful, of course, also for the cause that we are trying to drive here. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Emma Naluyima. Dr. Emma, allow me to just say, Emma, can you? Yes, I see you. I hope our panelists, our participants are also seeing you. Yes, of course, I remember Dr. Emma because she was the Africa Food Prize winner for 2019, really recognized for her role and contribution to food security in Africa. Really a great honor. She's a smallholder farmer and a private veterinarian focusing on clinical medicine and herd health. She has previously worked with the National Animal Genetic Resource Center Data Bank as an officer in Entebbe in charge of livestock environmental station. She has also worked for the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, on his personal dairy farm to improve genetics of his herd through artificial insemination. She has also served as the chair of the Red Cross Mbarara, and of course, she's a veterinarian who has certainly made a huge impact within that area. So these are our panelists. So I am going to just pose the first question. So for panelists, please be precise because we are also really running out of time. So I'm going to give each one of you just 3 minutes initially to give us your input on the questions that are raised, and then later we will just pose a few questions across. So to Dr. Roslyn Nyamutale, of course, we know that majority of the women are in agricultural labor. There's only 24% in agribusiness in Uganda. What are the barriers for along the agricultural value chain that cause this gender imbalance? Dr. Roslyn, and maybe that it would help then for you to just outline some of these barriers and then go on to outline some of the solutions that you see, particularly as a scientist, of course, who has had your hand also in this area. Over to you, Dr. Roslyn.
Thank you. As we all know that when we talk about agribusiness, it's all about majorly making money. And we look at the barriers that constrain the women to make money in the agricultural enterprises. One most important one is limited access to land. As we all know, with our patrilineal society, most women can have user rights, but they may not own the land. Therefore, they cannot make critical decisions on the use of this land. And this limits which enterprise that they have to develop on this land. Despite the fact that such an enterprise may be the money-making enterprise, they have to get their permission from their husbands. If they can, maybe they can be able to hire the land. But the limited access to land is very critical for the women involved in agribusiness. And how can we help the women, despite the fact that they have limited access to land, to involve in agribusiness? One of them is to identify those activities that may not necessarily need land, like provision of services, private service provision. Women who don't have enough land can, for example, provide services like sharing services to the communities. They can also, if organized as a team, provide plowing services. Quite often, they also provide labor to get some money. The other limitation, of course, is capital. When you have to do business, you need capital. Therefore, agribusiness also will need capital. Where do I start from? You find that most of the women have limited capital to start their enterprises. But still, there are strategies that we can use for these women to start their capital, have capital and start their agribusinesses. From experience, you find that all women outside there, they endeavor to save. And how we can help them to start even bigger agribusinesses is to save for a reason. Quite often you find the village saving and loan associations, they save. At the end of the savings season, they share everything. But how do we help these ladies to go into agribusiness and benefit with even their small savings? Let us change their mindset, save for a reason. For example, in a season, they can have a production plan, what they are going to save for, so that at the end, they use those funds to actually finance the activities that they have planned to do. Women they multitask, even all of us. They are the mothers, they are the doctors sometimes, they have to look after the children, to take them to school, a lot of things, both that take their time. There are opportunities outside there that they could have, which can bring them more money. For example, trading in produce. But most women are constrained to do this because they don't have the liberty to move. The husbands may not allow them, but also their domestic roles cannot allow them to move as they should, especially in this business, for example, of taking. You have to move, you have to go to the centers, you have to go to the village, you have to organize, to aggregate the produce. This means that you have to be off your family, off your home for some days, which is not possible for these women. And then they have to get the permission from their husbands. And when they go, there is also the fear, believe me or not, if I spend 3 days, 5 days, a week, will I still find my home? So this one also limits the women to improve their agribusiness enterprises, to enable them get more money. Now, to those who have ventured and gone ahead and started their businesses, we have the volume of work of registering these businesses. To some ladies, it is a hindrance. To go through that process, if you want to do international business, you have to register your company, you have to fulfill all those, and which also some women may not even have the courage to do that, may not have the confidence, and this limits with time their participation in international markets and even more national markets. So the other part is access to information along the value chain, from production up to marketing. It is very critical that if they have to do their agribusinesses right, they have to access this information on production, post-harvest handling, and then the markets. But key in agribusiness is market information. Where are the markets? Markets are a pull factor to production, to adoption of technologies. And quite often we'll find that these ladies who are majorly in their gardens, sometimes they are not able to go and attend, or maybe if they are radios, maybe the husband is listening to the important news. She's not able to get this information on the market that is being talked about. She may not have the phone. These days we engross IT in agriculture. Some of them are not able to have the phones so that they can access this information on marketing. It's not possible. So that is also a hindrance to the women accessing market information, which is a real big hindrance to their marketing. It's maybe the husbands who will come and say, we have to sell this at this time. And when they go to sell, they produce, but it is the husbands who do the selling. Recently I was in Karamoja, and the women did a skit on agriculture and the men. It was very interesting. Now, when these ladies, the Karamojong, they produce their food, then in the evening, the men come stealthily, they tie their trousers down, power some grains in the trousers, go to the drinking place and sell and drink the money. Now, the women in this drama, they said, if only they would take and bring back the money to help all of us, then we would appreciate. So even the money, what they do, what they would have benefited to even reinvest more into their agribusinesses, their husbands cannot allow them to do that.
Yeah, very good. Dr. Rosalind, please, just one more minute and wrap up.
Yeah, in how I would like to to encourage the women in agribusiness, us, the professional women, but also them as women. We need to organize them in strong groups so that they can aggregate their production, bulk together, and sell as a group. And in this way, they can get more money from their input. The women need to have confidence in themselves. They have to believe in themselves that they can also do it. Believe in themselves. But also, look out for those role models who can inspire them to do the agribusiness. If they look up to Dr. Emma, for example, many of us have looked up to you, and you have been an inspiration. Look at Honorable Victoria Sejoleko. And what also encourages these women to go into agribusiness, when we talk to them, some of them said, would like to get school fees so that our girls also become doctors like you, you know? So
Yes.
that belief and strength and passion within them will drive them a long way to go into agribusiness.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very, very valid and very important points you raised. In fact, you've given me also lots of ideas on how we can harness the capacities, the networks of women professionals to be able to also assist the other women to become a role model, to aspire to be what we have become. I think that is very, very useful. And I'm glad we have, for example, Hon Victoria and Dr. Emma, and of course, all of you who have excelled in different ways. You can imagine how many other women will be looking up to us, to want to be like us. And so we support them through this journey. One of the things we've been looking at is how can we then mentor the other women? And maybe each one of us could pick a number of women to mentor, you know, through this Value for Her program can be, and the platform can actually facilitate those kind of connections. Very, very valid points. So now I move to our next panelist, Jen, and you've heard Rosalind speak to all these different constraints that women face. I mean, starting with land, starting with capital, starting with the time and care burden that women carry, the formalities around getting into business and registering businesses and getting your businesses even to trade, for example, regionally, the issue around access to information. Jen, please help us get into these issues and understand them from a policy perspective. How would you explain this from policy interventions that are necessary to support women to address these gaps? And what is the role of governments in ensuring that this happens? Jen, your 3 minutes initially, maybe 4 minutes at most. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for those questions, and thanks also for inviting me into this space to address the issues of the key policy issues around these barriers. One, I think what I need to point out first of all is that the policies don't explicitly, there is no policy that explicitly exclude women. For example, to say women shouldn't access land, women shouldn't access finance, no. It's issues of patriarchy, like my sister has pointed out when it comes to land, but it's also around the conditions put on the way, for example, you access finance. For example, accessing finance, when they require collateral, land, automatically women are excluded. So it's those underlying policy implementation measures that exclude women and which we need to to look at. There is the issue of finance. The issue of finance has been discussed extensively, that women lack access to finance. In fact, big finance. When you look at the access which women, the finance which women access, it's that women groups every week where they save and they get some little money and they can't move with such kind of money from where they are. And I will look at that, what we need to do about that. There is the issue of access to information. It has been a challenge and it's becoming a challenge. When we are in analog, the radio was the major access to information. But then you find it's the man who has that radio and who is changing the knobs, going with it to everywhere. But now digitalization has also led to more problems. There is a very huge digital divide between urban and rural, and between women in urban areas and rural women. So that digital divide is so huge, yet that's where the information is coming from. Madam Sejoleko raised the issue of government taxing the digital. And as Siatini, we went to Parliament and told them this shouldn't really, it's unfortunate, that you are doing that. If you want to tax the digital platforms, tax the big companies, the Amazon, the Alibaba, they are not being taxed, but it wasn't done. Yet, there is a very good report which was done by UNCTAD on Uganda. It's called the E-Trade Readiness Report. How ready are we as Uganda to trade or on digital platforms? It's very, very good. But one of the issues it brings out is that Uganda, we are lagging far behind when it comes to the 3 A's of digital e-commerce. That's accessibility, availability, affordability of the digital platform. So government should really work hard to ensure that we access the digital services very, very cheaply. Regarding the issue of information, I want to go back to the issue which Dr. Birungi raised about markets. Trade is about a product and a market, a specific product with specific standard and a specific market. And how do we get that information? You can get it on radio, you can get it on the online, but markets are negotiated. Today we are negotiating the Continental Free Trade Area. The whole 53 countries of Africa. One country, Eritrea, is not in at the moment, but the rest are there. But what are we taking there as women? What have we negotiated? So it's not just women at the bottom of the pyramid who are lacking information, but even us here. We have so many markets, starting with a domestic market. And Madam Sejoleko raised that. You go to the market, there's white stuff on the tomatoes. Today, we have a market in the European Union. They told us bring everything but arms. And we told them, okay, we have spears anyway, we won't bring them. But today we have a self-ban. We just said, please, let us put our house in order. And what products are we taking there? Vegetables, pepper. And these are products which are grown by our women. But it's because we can't achieve the standard which is required. Do we know the standard? Maybe we don't. We had a very good opportunity to trade in sesame. That's a woman's crop. But there was a rejection, huge rejection, because of salmonella, because we handled our sesame not very well. So the issue of standards, the issue of knowing the market and the market requirements is very critical if we are to move up the value chain and be able to bring those women down the pyramid into those value chains. So what do we need to do, and what should government do? I want to look at the long term, and the gender agenda has to look at the bigger picture, because as women, we are swimming in that pool called Uganda with all those challenges, except that being women, the barriers are huge for us. Because, for example, when it comes to finance, men have the land, the collateral, but because the financing architecture is not very good, they also end up losing that land. So we need to look at the bigger picture. When it comes to finance, the long term, we could have the immediate and intermediate strategies, what we have been talking about, but the longer term, we need to reorganize our banking sector. Our banking sector is not there. It's dominated by others. I was growing up, we had UCB everywhere, mobilizing resources and on lending, affordable finance. Today we don't have it. All the financing architecture can't sustain our agricultural enterprises. When it comes to the issue of standards, if we are to sustain our presence in all those markets, the AGOA markets, the COMESA, the SADC, the CAFTA, we need to make sure that we know the standards, and standards government has to do that. We used to work in Nakaseke and Masindi. Nakaseke were able, by the time we went there, so many people were spraying maize to dry it, spraying with weed master to dry it. We worked with the local government, we put in place standards, we put in place ordinances and bylaws, and Nakaseke, they have their farmers associations, and some of them negotiated even to supply World Food Program. So it's really, really important. When we are negotiating markets, I think it's important that the women are there, because we negotiate goods and services. What services do you want to take to the African market? We should be there. Okay, I will stop there.
Jen,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We can listen to you all morning. It's really exciting, and you're spot on in identifying that policies do not necessarily exclude women, but it is really the process and the conditions around the access to different resources that constrain women. And I really like your point around trade and markets, and the fact that the markets are negotiated. And right now there is Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that is in place, that is in progress. Are we as women participating in these and making our ask, our demands clear? I think you really raise a very, very important point on a number of these. Now we are going to move now into the finances space. Jen already started us off with the issue on affordable finance. And Mona is going to help us to zoom into that a bit more. And of course, looking at, particularly the issues around value addition. And right now we have majority of our women are running really these very, very small enterprises, just like it's a hand to mouth, kind of enterprises, really survivalist enterprises. But there's huge opportunity to take these businesses further, to move into value addition and to do a lot more, but it isn't happening. And finance is one of the key issues, of course, that come into play. So Mona, please help us understand some of these barriers from the financing perspective, and what can be done really to alleviate this, to make affordable finance, as was said by Jen, accessible and available to women. Over to you, Mona.
Thank you very much, Sadibia. I start by noting that the barriers that women are facing, women and youth are facing in accessing finance are not any different from what women and youth are facing in accessing technology. So I will not repeat what has been said by way of the barriers, but I'll get into what the solutions are to those barriers and specifically from our experience as ABI, what we're doing and what we've seen. Much has been said about organizing women into groups, and it is very, very important and cannot be stressed enough. As small holder farmers, as individual women, as individual youth, they can't do anything substantive on their own. The strength is in numbers, the strength is in the collective, and so it's important as service providers, as people working in this space, to strengthen the women groups, to strengthen the youth associations, to strengthen the farmer groups. And how do you strengthen them? In fact, Ortego was talking about how do we move the talk from the boardroom down to the people, and how do we deliver this service? So that's what I want to focus on. The training, we need to strengthen them from a governance perspective, the financial literacy that was talked about, and all aspects of organizing themselves around advocacy and understanding what they want. The public speaking will all be addressed in there. So there's capacity building that is needed for these groups that will give them credibility. Credibility, one, in experience, just being around and being a women's group that has been around for 5 years. And indeed, they save their money in those small boxes, but if they are strengthened to then moving to lending each other, what Dr. Goodlaw was saying, they build their resources and then can lend each other at 1%. When the financial institutions get interested in them, the people they're finding have a good value proposition to make already. They have a track record. They are able to say that we have lent to each other for this number of years, and therefore the issue of trust and repayment is done away with. That's one way to address the issue of collateral. So it's important to build the track record within those groups, have their own resources from which they can leverage. When they have their own resources and say, as a group, we have, for instance, 200 million or 20 million or 5 million, and we're coming to the bank to get an additional loan of this much. One, their track record will go a long ways in helping them negotiate better rates for themselves based on the kind of rates they're seeing, because those groups will have already done and understand the cost-benefit analysis. But it is incumbent on us, indeed, as my colleague was talking about policies and what we can do, the kind of concessions we need to negotiate for themselves. ABI, one of the things we provide is liquidity for agribusiness lending. And why do we provide liquidity is because when the banks are left to themselves, they will focus on things like real estate, on things like personal loans and that type of thing, where the risk is not as high or the perceived risk is not as high as with agriculture. So we provided liquidity, and now we need to go a step further. What we're doing with our instruments is to be in the space and advocates of these women groups, of these youth groups, of these farmers, and ask the banks and negotiate with the banks and say, this is the kind of liquidity we're making available. How can we make it concessional? Because indeed, too, the women and the youth need a leg up, so there's need for concessional financing. So it is one thing to provide liquidity, but it is another thing to provide it at the right prices. Dr. Nalunga talked about it, that it feels like suicide getting some of these facilities and loans. So it's incumbent on us who are in these rooms negotiating these facilities to ensure that they are brought at serviceable prices, and that's part of our ambition of what we're trying to do when we negotiate for lines of credit, for instance, with financial institutions. The other thing is product refinement and development. That's another way we can support women and youth. For instance, we are seeing that there's a matter of side selling that you all might be aware of, and people do not side sell because they are dishonest. They are not inherently dishonest, but they are pushed because usually what is it going to? Feeding their children and taking their children to hospital and also school. So why do they side sell? To feed their own children, take them to hospital and educate them. So in terms of product development, what we're saying to the financial institutions is that don't give a person a loan just for the inputs. give them a facility that will cover them to be able to come to the bank and say, when school fees come, I also want to be able to access school fees. I also want to access medical cover. They will be happy to pay. They will be happy to pay, and the banks will also, alongside the bank assurance that they've started, the banks, when you bring volumes, when you bring women associations, when you bring cooperatives that have volumes of people behind them, numbers, 1,000 people, they will have bargaining power, they'll have advocacy and say, we're 1,000, okay? So now, how can we bring down this interest rate? Because we are going to take this much money and economies of scale come in. So it all ties in, and the product development and refinement is key. So that's one other thing that we can do. There's something that has been mentioned quite a bit indeed, is the patriarchal structures that, that prevent women and youth from accessing or owning the productive resources. And one way at ABI that we've been trying to go around that is advocating for farming as a family business. Dr. Nalunga again spoke about that, where I think they were targeting women and youth, and then the men were fluking. Now, we don't have to make them flukers, let them come to the party. Because indeed, when we strengthen them as a family to take decisions over the resources together, when they understand that this resource best placed like this and provided, say, as collateral, will help us all as a family. If I allow my son, who is now more digitally savvy and has this very enterprising idea, it is better for him to use it, and me, the father, I can sign off and access this. So the men need to be in the room. So let's have the engagement happening, and the phrase I'll leave you with is farming as a family business. Have them in the room to participate in the decision making, the knowledge and understanding, so that the women don't have the added role of going to be the advocates where they are not. When the men come and hear this information as a family unit, the decision making will be that much better. And we'll find that we are bypassing this matter where women don't own or youth don't own the assets. It becomes a collective asset and better deployed for all our benefit. I think leaving those, with those particular remarks, I think I've covered what can be done to address the bottlenecks that have been well ably defined. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mona. You have raised very, very important points, actually going to the root of the challenges that women face in accessing finance, and how the collectives can actually be used as a capital, as a capital to reduce the cost of borrowing, the cost of finance. Yeah, and of course, the fact we do appreciate that farming is a family business and is a family enterprise. And the more we try to really empower all the members, you know, it's actually to show them that this is a partnership, right, between a man and a woman. And a business that has that kind of partnership and leverages the collective capabilities of all the partners succeeds, excels. So this is why we also try to really make this point clear, that it is important also then for the woman to be given the chance to participate and play that partnership role. That is the role that she's supposed to play in the family enterprise. And this is, of course, accessing all these resources that she is going to need to be effective. So now we are moving on. Thank you so much, Mona, for those words. Moving on to Stella. And Stella is a lawyer, so she's going to zoom in to really help us understand how, of course, the women associations, the women and the grassroots movement, right? And the women's movement has really, really improved the space, brought the awareness around the issues the constraints that women are facing, and has opened up a huge space. Of course, that is why we are talking about this issue today, that the space needs to continue to open up. But we do recognize that these grassroots movements have played a key role in even just creating the awareness. So Stella is going to help us to really look at the women at the grassroots level and how we can use these movements to address the constraints, and specifically speaking to the experience of Uganda and the role, for example, of an institution like NOWOW in advocating, in advancing and advocating for women in agribusiness. Stella, your 4 minutes.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. When you talk about the role of associations in addressing the bottlenecks, of course, most of the bottlenecks have been identified, they are diverse, but at the end of the day, what can be done by the women's movement or by the different associations? One is we believe the associations or the women's movement provide a platform through which the women can share these challenges. We are talking about the trainings, we are talking about the inability of women to, the gender roles hindering them to take their produce to the market. But at the end of the day, the spaces, we need these spaces where the women can share the challenges and experiences that they are facing, because they are diverse, but again, they are connected. All of them face the same challenges related to land, the patriarchy, the gender roles, and all that. So we provide a platform where they can share these experiences and the challenges, but also the power of collectiveness, agency. How do we congregate together? You realize that why most of the women are still stuck with the small agribusinesses is because we don't have the tools, we can't afford the machinery, we don't have the finances, we don't have the land. So these platforms, the collectiveness, when we talk about women, how are some of them managing? You know, they are bringing their funding together, the small village and loan savings, they don't have the land, but some of them are able to hire land. They are hiring and farming as a team. They have moved into into smarter agriculture, vertical farming. They are farming upwards, you know, the vegetables. Those are some of the innovations. So these spaces give us opportunity, one, for training and sharing experiences with each other. But then also what we have learned is we are using model couples. When Mona talks about bringing the men to the party, the spaces, we're using model couples, bring the men on board. There are couples that have appreciated and realized a lot of progress through working together. We are using these spaces. Gone are the days when the spaces were for women to discuss women issues. We need to discuss these issues in the presence of men so that they understand and they can know that these are some of the challenges we are facing, because some of the solutions lie with them. If I have to ask for permission from my husband, why don't I bring him into this space so that then he knows that these are the discussions that we are having. And then these platforms also, all these spaces enable training and exchange learning. What we are doing at now is encouraging women to go for, because the trainings usually you find they're in closed door spaces. You will bring the people from the training centers. It's all about the words, but we are taking the women out, and it's good that Goody Farm is here, and I think I was one of their roasted chicken with rosemary. So when she's talking, I was just smiling at myself and saying, okay, now I hope the phone numbers were not recorded somewhere. But these are the kind of farms that we are talking about. We have taken them to places like Bulamu Farm in Gayaza for them to learn, and they really appreciate, because then that is when they know that these things are doable. It is possible. When you sit and they're telling you this is what you have to do, don't spray like this. But when you go to the farm and you're able to see, and of course we tag along some of the men. Interestingly, when we talk about skilling and training and then access to finance and how some of these bottlenecks are being resolved, the village and loan saving schemes, the ones that we have in Luero, the ones performing better are those that have men as part of the team. So that speaks to what we are talking about, the skills, the leadership, public speaking. Are women confident? And then the analysis, budget, cost benefit analysis, what exactly are they doing? And then also another thing that when we talk about, Jen talked about things to do with quality, price, standards, are we producing what can be consumed? Sometimes we are telling the women, produce this, we encourage them. They are producing, but even as some of the women, we are shy to buy what they have produced. because of the quality. You look at it and you think twice. So really these spaces are spaces, or what the associations are doing, are collecting the women. Some of these challenges can only be resolved as a team, as a group. But a woman, you're alone, you want to venture into this kind of agribusiness, be it piggery, be it banana plantation, or I would say maybe poultry. You can't do that alone. You need to have discussions, and you can only relate with people who are doing the same kind of business. So one of the things is organizing them into cooperatives. There is strength in cooperatives. They are being revived, and there is opportunity. Actually, some of them, that is how some of them have been able to tap into the UWEP funding in Ministry of Gender, because they are organized. They need to be organized. They need to appreciate that they have to register their businesses. People are not going for loose trade anymore. You have to be organized, you have to be registered. If you went to ABI, they would ask you, what are your documents? What is your structure like? Before we can engage with you. So then how are we supporting them? The registration of businesses. When we talk about quality standards that Madam Nalunga was talking about, we have been able to support some of them acquire QMark standards from UNBS. It's possible and it can be done, but they need, like how the lady from the CEO of Kilimo said, they need to be handheld to some extent. Once women are shown what to do and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel, they will definitely run that extra mile. So the power of collectiveness matters a lot, and giving them that space and the reassurance that what they're doing is good, it's profitable, it's doable, and they can be supported. I think those are some of the ways through which associations are supporting the women.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Stella. Again, very, very powerful intervention here. The collective is certainly very, very important for voice, for agency, for collective bargaining, and also just giving the women that cushion, you know, because these constraints cannot be addressed individually, but as a collective, they can be addressed effectively. Thank you so much for those words. I am now going to move to our last speaker for the panel, and this is Dr. Emma. And she is, of course, Dr. Emma was the Africa Food Prize winner for 2019. I think it would be so great if she can just share, she can just tell us one or two words about that prize, how she felt, how it made her feel, you know, as a woman. But coming back to the panel questions that was shared with her, of course, she's also a farmer, so she's going to speak to us from that perspective and just share with us some of the successes, some of the critical, the key successes that she has witnessed in agribusiness in Uganda, and what opportunities exist for national and international markets for Uganda, for example, where she sees opportunities for value chains, which node of the value chain has more opportunities, and what her experiences have been in accessing productive resources, you know, like finance and inputs and skills. So Emma, over to you.
Thank you. I felt excited. It was a great moment. And, you know, I was like, oh, you mean I've been doing this? You know, when the best, it's like the best thing is for someone to acknowledge you without you knowing. So I had just given birth to my baby girl, and then I received a phone call from Obasanjo, the president of Nigeria, and he's like, oh, my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow. So it was a good, I received a call a week after giving birth, so you can imagine how I felt. I had, but it was, I was from my Caesar, so I could not jump, I could not that. But anyway, it was really nice, and I felt good. I'm like, oh my, I'm representing Uganda on a small farm. It was really, really nice, and thank you, Agra. Now, the successes. Most of the things I'm going to talk as me, because maybe that's what has made me, is because I've gone to school. So going to school is a very, very important thing. And if I hadn't gone to school, I don't think I would be here. I wouldn't have been a farmer. Oh, the way I'm doing it, the way I'm doing it. So going to school is very, very important. Education is very, very important. And because of that, after knowing that this is what has made me be a successful farmer, I ended up making the MSc Junior School, like I said. So this school is for young children. It's normal school with a bias to agriculture. Why? Because the backbone of our nation is agriculture. And all of us here, we are farmers, or even the president, when he thinks to retire, he will retire into, he's a farmer, but he will still go to a farm, okay? So that said, I said, okay, why don't we train young children? Why don't, because everyone kept saying, come to my farm, come. The best way I could clone myself by putting at school. Because I knew I'd become successful because I'd gone to school. Now, and then the many farmers who used to come say, you see, I'm interested in farming. I mean, I pay tuition for my children through farming, but they're not interested. And when I die, I'm worried my farm is going to. So, and I'm like, okay. So that's how, why we are having issues, we also lack continuity. People in the Netherlands, in different countries, you find you go to a farm which was created in 1900, but it's still there. Now the challenge we have, we always start, you will start, your sister will start, everyone starts. And then you are starting with no knowledge, okay? So that is why we made the school, but because I knew I'd gone to school, and I'm like, I'm going to make sure that it's the school, we call it the School of Sons and Daughters of African Farmers. Because we think even these children, when they leave home, they'll go to, I mean, when they leave school, they'll go home and tell their parents, at school, this is what we did. At school, this is what, and they will help them improve. And then they'll also improve the community, like the people who can't afford to come to our school. They'll say, oh, this child does this. And so that what has made us successful is going to school. And that is very important. That's why when even we notice in the first panel, training is key. So much as we've gone to school, there are those who haven't gone to school. So we who have gone to school must go and teach these ones on the grassroots. Another, financial support or family support. Yeah, we've been talking, yes, I said the main fluke, but it's very, very important. The best time or the best farmers in when we train, the best people are those people that have worked, that come as a couple. Because even when we are teaching, they're like, hey, you see, even at home, you did like this, you get it? And then even they go back and they remind themselves. But this one who came alone, then she goes, then the husband is busy, then, so by the time she delivers the information, it's really gone. Then that is family support. Then, of course, financial support from maybe different institutions. And then the network, like she has been talking about it. Network, like Stella has been saying, networks are very, very important. They say your net worth is your networks. So we have, and that's the beauty about this. Much as they're smallholders, they help each other. They give themselves loans. They talk like the space she has been actually telling us about. And then even you remember these things like Pewosa. Those are small, after being farmers, then you go and do like maybe cottage industry and do other things, but it's still networks. At the end of the day, they get markets, and then we get market. Now, another thing I would encourage all people to join, of course, when we should, because we are going to train our farmers, we train them, please. There's this competition, the best farmer competition, and I think it's one of the things that made me come up. It's there's all these opportunities, and the beauty about it that even when you are there, right now we have opportunity to go abroad, to go to the Netherlands, connections, all that, you see? So these are things we think that are going to help, people, or that have helped me to be a successful person. Then the value chain, which value or which production, which stage of production which stage can these farmers, the underlying whatever the farmers take as women. Now, I will still give you an example as me. I am lazy. I like simple things. So, and then I'm like, but what is simple? And let me tell you how I started farming. I started farming to put food on my table. And what did I start with? Veggies. Matoke, of course, matoke, you know, that is the food. Then veggies, tomatoes. But these are simple things, they're small. That even these women, much as we say we don't have land, you can even put in a sack, you know, like vertical farming, like we've said. So these are simple things. And the beauty about them that they're short term, that you can get your money very fast from it. And the beauty about it, even if you're a stay-home mom, while you're looking after your child, you're watering, and they're simple. You get it? So vegetables are things that are easy, that women should take on. That's a short-term project. Then poultry as well. Poultry is small. You don't have to hustle. I hear you get, you know, you look for this man and this boy to help you. Even in your smallness, you can you can manage the poultry. And again, when someone goes for broilers, then they are going to be short term. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, there's money there. Okay? Then layers, again, collecting the eggs is something simple. Then rabbits. So these are things that women can look, they take very little space because we are looking, we don't have land. Some of our things were finance, access to land. Fine, let the man own his land. But at the back of my kitchen, what am I doing? In front of my compound. And then these compounds, you will call the man slash, why should I slash? Just put simple things and then you make money out of them. Then, and even when I went and decided, okay, now I can do cattle, I went for zero grazing because I don't want these things of you see, getting land, going. And I went for the smallest cattle. But of course, because maybe I went to school again, I know that a Jersey will feed less and give me some relative amount of milk, and I'll be happy. Okay? But these are simple things that the women can do. But even then, that is at the production level. But they can go ahead, like Dr. Goodluck has been telling us. They can be vendors. We see women, like I come from a fishing place, so the women don't fish, but they wait upon the fishermen, and then they buy the fish, and then they bring it and they in buckets and they sell. That is raw. But even they can go on and add value and sell like frying like mputa, or they can also dry it. So these are simple things, but then they're now at the vendor level. Then others will make restaurants, okay? Then I remember there's a lady, when doctor was talking about how women should look at to us. So I didn't know that I was doing this. I was doing my research in my undergraduate. So in Sanga, that I did my research on foot and mouth disease. So I'm there, and then there's this lady I used to buy from ghee. So she's a vendor. Why I'm bringing this thing? She's a vendor in ghee. Okay, these are products now, value addition. And then each time I go, I buy ghee from her, and I come back to Kampala. But last year, no, not last year, the other year, I passed by Sanga, and I'm like, the people I was with, I told them, hey, you guys, I used to stay here. I don't know if anyone even remembers me. So I go and buy ghee. And then the woman said, Musao. Then we talked, and then she tells me, I used to see you, and I struggled. I said, my children must be like you. And this time I was a student. My children must be like you. And this is the most amazing thing was I struggled. My son is in 3rd year doing vet medicine, but she was selling ghee. You get it? So we can make it.
Yeah,
Then,
yeah.
Okay, the last one. Then you're asking about financial support. Now I'm going to give you a story, how we have issues with finances, how access to finance. So I'm like, okay, now I've done my farm, I want to get money. Then I go to the bank. I was banking in this bank with all my books, 5 years, so everything was nice. I told this guy, I want to buy pigs, I want a loan. They tell me, no, we don't give agriculture loans. Then they ask me, then he tells me, no. This is advice from a bank manager. Go, I'm going to give you a loan so that you buy a car. Then you sell a car to do whatever you want. I told him, I don't understand cars. I understand animals. I know that if I do this, I'm going to do this, and I'll bring you money. All I needed was 10 million Uganda shillings. Anyway, fast forward, I didn't get the loan. I found my way and got money and bought pigs. 1 pig, 10 million Uganda shillings. But at the end of the year, I made 33 million Uganda shillings out of this because I knew what I was doing. So we should train these women. We should do all these things. So when women, like she said, if we understand what we are, if we understand ourselves, we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. It's very, very powerful. Dr. Emma, again, you used your own life's example, to really drive these points home. So thank you very, very much. Of course, you're building the pipeline to agriculture, the young people you're training. This is really, really inspirational and very, very important. You raised the issue of the support from the family, which is key. Of course, you raise the issue of innovation. You know how women can use the resources that are available within the environment to already do something, to start these small, it can be short season crops, just do what is within your space and start. And once you start, then you gain the space going forward. Thank you so much. And I really welcome you to also be linked to, or rather join the VALUE4HER community, because we're really looking for people who are women who are going to inspire other women. So again, to all the panelists, my request to you is please join us, because we are going to develop this community of women who can inspire and support and really lift each other. So I think this has been a very, very powerful session, brought out a number of key issues. I've summarized some of them. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go now further into this. Our participants have also raised a number of comments on the chat. There is even an offer from a number of them actually there was somebody who offered to even do a training for women on water and resource use management. That was Annette Diana. Very, very interesting comments and feedback also on the chat, and some of the partners that are ready and willing to link up with our women's program and the initiatives we are leading so that we can collectively move forward. So thank you very much, our panelists. Please let's give a round of applause to our panelists for this very powerful support, and I hand back to Lillian after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sabdio, also for taking up the responsibility of moderating this panel on such a short notice. Like I said, we must always be prepared for detours whenever we are taking a journey. And this indeed is a great journey. We now have transitioned into the next session of questions and answers. Like I said, they are coming fast and quickly. I don't know how we're doing with time. Okay. Right. Just in 10 minutes, I've been picking up some of the questions from our online participants. And thank you so much again, our online participants, for being there and holding forth. But also our Vice President, Vanessa Adams, for Strategic Partnerships, was supposed to give us some closing remarks, and she wanted to run for another meeting. I don't know, Vanessa, whether we still have you?
So I am in touch with her, and she's on another meeting, but she will hop back onto this one. So just let me know when you would want her to hop back.
Great, thank you so much, Sabdio. Right, first and foremost, I would like to inform us, the panelists and other participants online, that Sabdio, your call for women to be mentors to other women and young girls is being taken on by people who are already offering to train. I saw one lady talking about that she's available to mentor women. Her name is Amanda Koech. There is another one who is very specific about what she wants to mentor on. This is Annette. She wants to mentor on training women in appropriate water management and irrigation systems. So we will follow up on this offer, certainly. And also words of commendation for this event and the speakers. And some of the comments that are coming through are that training should start from home. Yeah, we should train our young girls and young women right from home. And another one is saying that she feels encouraged that there are opportunities for women in agribusiness. And now straight to questions, some specific speakers, others are general, and we can, any one of us can take on. I will start with one that is specifically directed to Dr. Roslyn, saying that women need to delegate some household roles so that they can excel as agropreneurs. What's your take on this, Dr. Roslyn?
Pardon?
An online participant is asking you, first and foremost, she says, women need to delegate some household roles. I think she's following up on what you said, that of course women in ag also, they're still women at home and they're expected to do some household chores, traditionally speaking. And so she's saying that women need to delegate some of those roles so that they can excel as agropreneurs. What is your take on this? Thank you.
Thank you. Delegation now, it is nice to delegate, but in this case, delegate the roles to who is the question. Are we delegating them to our house help? Are we delegating to our husband? So the delegation is not so clear. But however, if the agripreneur women have the funds, they can of course get someone to help as they go out and make more money, pay the house help, but also keep the profit to reinvest into their agribusinesses. That's what I would do if I was to delegate.
Thank you, Dr. Roslyn.
And if I have a very understanding husband, if I can say, I would be very glad if I would delegate some of those duties.
Right. Yeah. Husbands, I'm sure, especially online, we're listening. Another question, I think, Mona, you can take this, is that the cost of financing is ridiculous in Uganda. How is this platform, and Mona, yes, but also Subdio, as regards the platform, how can this platform help smallholder farmers access grants and affordable finance? First Mona, second Subdio. Thank you.
Specifically to this platform, I think it's an opportunity to bring together women and enable them advocate for better policies and negotiate better prices. And then to other actors on this policy, I mean on this platform, for instance, if ABI is partnered with other similar organizations, we are taking strides or making dents into the issue of financing and trying to negotiate and provide better priced liquidity or lines of credit. Are the rates falling? Not as quickly as we would like, but we are making strides in that respect. But also, going back to what this platform can do, if the women are also better organized, if the agribusinesses are better organized and have their own liquidity as well, they can start to lend each other. And if you go as a bargaining position and saying, we have this much, how much more can we get on top of this, given that, you know, these are the number of people we bring behind us and that type of thing, it gives you a better bargaining strength and as a collective. So the power is in numbers, the power is in being together as a collective and doing something for yourselves, putting your own resources together, putting your money where your mouth is, demonstrating credibility, providing safety by way of group collateral or group assurances and that type of thing. So we can't move away from what this platform is trying to do, bring us together as a collective and enable us negotiate better.
Thank you so much, Mona. Subdio, you could shed light to this also, especially speaking to how the platform will leverage access to finance by women in ag. And as you do so, Subdio, there's also a call from one of the panelists here that we need to break down exactly how the women we are calling upon today can we just simplify, how can they join the Value for Her platform? That's one. Also, Sabdio, if you could shed some light, a question also coming through is what next for the Value for Her? What next after this launch, after this breakfast meeting? Over to you, Sabdio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lillian. And I think just picking up from what Mona shared on the role of such a platform, the role of such a community, because we are building up a community of women entrepreneurs in agriculture through Value for Her. We are building the collective. We are building the collective. And the collective is very important for very many reasons. One is, of course, to give a voice, right? So when there is a critical mass of women in agribusiness, there's power to negotiate. We talked about markets initially. There's power to be heard on the policy fronts and to participate and influence policy processes. There's power in attracting buyers and in making and getting the terms that are favorable to you and getting financing also favorable to you. I think our panelists really underscored this in the discussions that we've just ended. So the Value for Her platform, and this is why we are calling on women entrepreneurs to join, because when we have the numbers, then we will be able to put out demands that will change the landscape in terms of services, these services. Talk about financing, talk about market, talk about information, talk about digital, yeah? And these are things we can put clearly on the table of policymakers, of development actors, of private sector partners that women are working with to say this needs to change. And if you do not see this collective, yeah, as a business capital that you can tap into as a private business, as the private sector, then there's a problem. Because recently I was on another panel where one of the panelists said, you know, the next revolution in financing is actually going to be their institution. It will be their institution that is going to develop flexible products for women, for women's businesses, because you can see how women easily pick up these enterprises and they are trustworthy. Most of them are trustworthy. They have shown it. So the issue is, how do we then use this platform to create this collective that also builds in trust, you know, as a collateral that can, you know, attract also financing institutions to the women enterprises. The question of how to join, there's a link that has just been shared again by Marjorie, so please look at the chat. Just click on that link and you will just put in your bio data for your business and just some basic information, and you are in, and you are in. And when you're in, you're free to engage across the board with women companies in other countries, with other partners who are coming on board, because market actors are coming on board, financing institutions are coming on board the platform. Then it's just at the click of a button, you're able to access whoever you need, and you share whatever information you want, and you seek whatever information you need. This is how important it is. What's next after this launch? This is the first step in launching this program in Uganda. So together with, of course, our team in Uganda will be leading us, and you, the partners, and you, the panelists, we are going to now expand this movement also in Uganda. So again, as we made a call also at the beginning of this event, the call is, please bring in as many women entrepreneurs as possible on this platform. But for us, the platform is just the beginning to the program. In the end, we are looking at how are women accessing financing in country, out of the country. How are they financing? How are they accessing markets? How are they accessing the knowledge they need? How are they building their confidence to grow their businesses beyond Uganda into the Africa Continental Free Trade Area? You see, there's a huge area. So this is what this program builds. So our next action in Uganda is really now to come to the specifics, and we will have activities around the specifics. It will be around financing, possibly like a matchmaking event, or it will be around markets, another matchmaking event with the buyers. There are trainings that we are rolling out, like the first one is the Arise one, the one for women and COVID. Please ask the women in Uganda, the women enterprises, entrepreneurs in Uganda to join this training, because it's an executive training. So it's really training you as your business leader, how you should look at your business, the liability, the loan portfolio, for example, that you have, or even just what sort of capital you need for your business and which growth path you should pursue. So these programs will continue to run through the year, and Uganda will certainly be also a beneficiary of the ones we run from a corporate level. But in country, we are hoping that we'll actually have a project for Uganda that is going to be funded and it will run in Uganda. It will touch the ground, essentially touch the ground and touch every woman. There was a question around how does this link with farmers? Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to look at all these businesses. They're looking for commodities, right? They're looking for suppliers, right? So we are working again on a small project right now that is going to help these women businesses that are really big and they're looking for supplies to build back their supply chains to smaller businesses of women and smallholder farmers that are women. So there is what we're calling women to women supply chain, which we are working on again. This is a project that is going to come. And once it comes, of course, you will have a chance also as Uganda women entrepreneurs to participate in this. So these are just some of the follow-up actions. You'll see the discussions that have happened across the 11 countries. We are planning to consolidate these, and these will also be tabled as the voice of women in agriculture, and particularly women in agribusiness, also with the Food System Summit. So these are the different areas of follow-up actions that we have planned. Thank you very much. Over to you, Lillian.
Thank you so much, Sabdio, for especially answering the question about what is next for VALUE4HER. That is a question I'm sure has been an interest for many. I have personally received it, including from Madam Victoria, today's keynote speaker, and I attempted to answer, but you have covered it very well, so thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, our online participants, because of time, we were supposed to end this meeting at midday exactly, but we've eaten into a little bit of time. We shall not be taking any more questions right now. However, they are noted. In the course of time, we will address them, specifically me and others, the champions of VALUE4HER. For now, kindly allow us to end there for the Q&A session. Also to mention that Sabdia was talking about one of the offshoots of the VALUE4HER program is the training, the executive training for women that we're offering. I may not have sent that call, but it's available as soon as we finish this meeting to ask the panelists who I'm sure represent so many other women networks. I shall be sending it for those women to register and benefit from it. It's free of charge and it's very exciting. So thank you. I will now call upon Dr. Jagwe, the country manager, Agra Uganda, to call upon Vanessa to give her closing remarks. Sabdi, I hope Vanessa is on, or you can call on her. Thank you so much.
Yes, she's coming on.
Vanessa Adams is the Vice President in charge of strategic partnerships in Agra, and she will give us closing remarks. I can also give mine before, so that we just wind up. So ladies and gentlemen, we are, actually I should say ladies, we are so glad that you've spared time for this morning. This has been a very inspirational morning. You are out there inspiring lots of people. You have no idea. People look at people and get inspired. And so as we do this, Agra is committed to be there for you. We also have some ideas of where to take value for her, but we will rely on your ideas and your thoughts about this. We are in a position that can also lobby for resources to take this further. And so, welcome on board. Let's take this journey. And I've kept hearing the word, let's move from talk to action. Plug in and go. Those are the two things I'm taking away. And yeah, thank you very much. A special thank you to Lillian and Richard for really putting this together. It's been amazing what you've done. Vanessa, welcome. Vanessa Adams, Vice President, Strategic Partnerships in AGRA. You can see AGRA is headed by women, actually. The president of AGRA is a woman. The vice presidents, we have how many vice presidents? 3. There are 2 are women, so men, we are marginalized. Vanessa, welcome.
John, you are far from marginalized. Far, far, far. We couldn't have done any of this without your great leadership in Uganda. I'm so pleased to join you all this morning or afternoon. And I'm actually calling in from Ghana. So thanks to our virtual world, we can have a Uganda country event from all over Africa. I wanted to just recognize and reiterate a few of the challenges and opportunities we've been discussing. The challenges, I think, are so numerous and at sometimes are daunting. And I'm reminded of my grandmother always when I think about food and agricultural systems and women, because all of our grandmothers laid the groundwork for our mindsets, for our cultures, for who we believe we can be, who we want to be, our visions. So it's really fascinating and wonderful for me to once again think of what she always said, which is, you know, Vanessa, wherever you are in the world, the struggles and the challenges that we encounter can be the same. It's not because we're in a rural community. It's not because we're in a big city. It's not because we have this or this aspiration, but it's who we are as people. And so I want to talk today about the leadership qualities and the tools that you have at your disposal, and that we're trying to also make available together to further ag and food systems transformation in Africa and business transformation. And I think at the beginning of this discussion today, I was listening to Aggie's great speech and reminding myself that in rural communities, people are within a limited network. And each of us thinks that we have a network, and that's a safety net for us. And those networks and safety nets actually frame how we think and who we are. And yet we can change our networks, we can change our visions and change our safety nets to grow and really to set a new goal, a new vision, a new mindset, and also to come up with practical proposals and really be very clear. Today, I'm in Ghana. Why? In Ghana, we're talking about the poultry sector, just as an example, and how much imported poultry all of Africa has, and how Africa can grow our own poultry sector. And we just appreciated and recognized an expansion of a Rwandan poultry company, right? And why is poultry not working in Africa? Because of feed and the cost of feed and availability of quality feed, right? And all of the biosafety rules and regulations to have safe and healthy food and chicken and testing. And these are solvable problems. And there are today successes and stories and examples of those problems actually being solved by men and women. And so what we're hoping that this network of Value for Her and this training, which is not just any training, but very targeted, specific tools on financial literacy and management, which we know are critical business language to profitability. with those tools, enabling more investments, more lending. And no one is better than John and Lillian, all of you, the team in Uganda, on rethinking ag finance, right? And ag lending and ag investments, and even productivity changes. So we're so convinced of the capacity, but we know that there's a few keys. One key is maintaining confidence, compassion. We learn to fight every day as women, and we forget when we shouldn't be fighting, when we should actually be helping each other, when we should make commitments to be mentors. So the second key after this confidence and compassion, which are leadership skills, is mentorship. I think Aggie said it. I think that Satio said it. And I know that many of you commit to mentorship, but not being nice and, you know, buying people lunch or loaning people a couple shillings here and there. No, what we want you to dare to do is to have tough love, to remind the women entrepreneurs and businesses in your direct circle, young women who are setting out, the discipline of being a business leader. The third piece that we've talked about again and again on networking, building networks and scaling, and being daring to step out, daring to go out of your comfort zone, daring to approach the business that you want to partner with, and building that network, maintaining and managing those relationships, even when the going gets tough. The fourth piece, and I know you've spoken about this, and I want to reiterate, is the critical need for advocacy. I don't mean complaining. I don't mean negativity. I mean constructive, positive advocacy, practical call to action. What needs to change? Who can change it? Who do we call on to mobilize to be our champions for change? Whether it be increased funding for women entrepreneurs, lower interest rates, more guarantees, better targeted investments. Who are those champions and what is our practical call to action for making those changes? The next piece that you all know that's critical, and this is something that people really have to learn again and again, is about competitiveness. Who are we competing with? We have to be competitive. We have to be smart. We have to be savvy and not shy away from that competitiveness. And yet at the same time, don't compete with somebody who could be your strategic partner. Don't compete to undermine another business. The pie can grow. It's not limited. It's not a zero-sum game. So the competitiveness I'm talking about is finding ways to grow the market. And Aggie talked about this earlier in her remarks as well. Competitiveness is about how you position yourself in your organization. It's about placement of messaging. It's about product quality. It's about profitability, even or increasing revenue. Definitely, competitiveness is about sustaining engagement. So these are some of the keys and some of the founding elements, I would say. But you know, you all are brilliant, wise, strong, capable partners, and we really hope that together we can really mobilize the change that we want to see. Right? Be the champions that you know can choose to champion and change and mobilize. Rwanda has set a benchmark, which we think is really interesting, of 30% women in leadership positions, right? And Agra has just launched a new Center for Leadership in Agriculture, which I hope you're also registering for, as well as this training and financial acumen for women entrepreneurs. But leadership, women leadership shouldn't be 30%. Why would we be settled and happy for 30% representation, whether it's at parliamentary level or chief director jobs or, you know, management in companies? So while John is recognizing the powerful women at Agra, that didn't come overnight. When Agra started, if you look at the early days photos of leadership in Agra, You didn't see a whole row of women up there, let me tell you. So it's not everywhere. It's not all the time. It comes slowly, but for sure, never give up. Never, ever give up. So we're fighting for you. We really, really, really wish we were there on the ground to give each other a high five, an elbow bump, and hopefully you're all staying safe and healthy and recovering well from COVID and getting vaccinated as quickly as possible. So thank you so, so much. And really my congratulations to this wonderful event and fantastic team and all of the champions who have joined us today from all over the world. Thank you.
With those words, thank you very much for making time. And even what Vanessa has said, competition should not be derogatory, but building each other. Be competitive with yourself, that I should be better than what I have been, okay? But not competitive to tear down others. With those remarks, let's keep tuned. This is a cooking pot, but it's going places. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.